Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome. It is our Friday when we do our Tales from the Foxhole, and I'm so happy to see you all here. I've got my chat right here to see what you all are doing. Thank you for being here. This is a special one-off for the Tales from the Foxhole. Thank you for that, Subwillen, because we were supposed to have our duo for City of Light and Shadow today with Greg and KP, but Greg's household has come down with the Rona, and KP is in India and has not slept in some long time period. So instead of City of Light and Shadow, I thought that we would do a solo adventure, and there are a couple of different solo adventures out there, and I thought, why don't we play the very first thing that I ever played when I played an RPG, which was Red Box Basic D&D from 1983 with art by Elmore, Dungeons and the Dragons. And so I thought, let's do that. So by the way, I know KP was, you know, he's in India. There was like a 10-hour bus ride and no sleep for 2 days. So you know how that is. And I thought, you know what, y'all should probably, you're getting fevers, you should sleep, and I will take care of this. I'm sorry that I had such a late start, but I found out about all this, like, we had about like at 6:30 is when I found out that we were going to have to switch it up, and so I just spent the last hour and a half working on getting everything together for tonight. So we're going to do the Red Box is what we're going to do. I thought it would be fun because many people, either you've done it, but you did it a couple years ago, 1983, or you've never done it, and maybe you might like to know what it's like to start playing D&D as we did. So I thought you might appreciate it. And let me see, I got it all set up, so I think it'll be nice looking. I also have, there are also a couple of other introductory solo games that I remember from back in the day, and I'm going to go and sometime soon get them all queued up, so in case something like this happens again, we can just jump in and do that. But also the summer's coming, so there might be some excitement here. So why don't we talk about it? You know what I don't have? I don't think I have exciting music. That's fine. I did not have the time for the exciting to pull together some a playlist as well at this moment, but this is our time. We're going to do this together. So, let's go back, shall we? It's Bargle, right? Do I remember? Oh, it might be Bargle. It might be Bargle Krellin. So why don't we go back? And this is going to be a little bit different because this solo adventure is also a bit of a learn to play. And there are 2 solo adventures. And I thought that you might find this interesting for all of you who are new to the scene. Now, I'm looking for one thing. Where am I? I would like you here and you here. Okay, excellent. I think we're in the way, in like Flynn. In the way I want you to be. Perfect. Okay. Rissa says, are we expecting to have a postponed duo for Greg KP or maybe open next season with them? Well, this is a really good question. I asked if they wanted to do an extra episode, but I don't think they have the timing for it. So I do not think we're going to get our KP Greg episode for this season. But we will have our Dot and Lindy next week. And then as long as, I've got to confirm, but I'm pretty sure we'll have the Saints to wrap up the week after that, which will put us like mid-June. We'll probably take a 2-week break, and then I've got a special something. We will see about the 2-week break. We'll see. But I've got a special something happening in July. I just have to hammer down the time and the starting date. But I've got a very special thing happening in July for the Foxhole, and then we'll do something exciting in August for the Foxhole too. There are other things I'm planning on doing. Some of those things are going to have to be in the afternoon, probably on a weekend because of time zones, because there are people from the UK that I need to pull in. Yes, birthday stream. Oh no, I don't do anything for my birthday. I'm not a person who celebrates birthdays. If I'm left to my own some, if I have friends in person who force me to do something for my birthday, then I will. But otherwise, I don't, because I always think of birthdays. I think of most holidays as for other people. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a thing for me. I'm like, I don't even really know when holidays happen. I don't really pay attention to them. They're not really important to me personally, but they're important to other people. So if I'm in a place where there are other people and they really care about it, then we'll do it. Otherwise, I don't do it. Krell's like, birthday haters. No, I don't hate birthdays. I just don't care about them. Like, not my own. Like, I mean, I'm not really different one day or the next. You know what I mean? So for me, birthdays are not all that. Oh no, I actually also don't even care about aging. Aging is fine. Being older is fine. I don't mind it. I think everything is great. It's just that I don't tend to make a big fuss about myself. So let's begin. Insert spooky music right here if we had some. I wonder if I actually can get something that'll be interesting right now. I probably can't. Maybe I can. Let me see. How about this? This could be good. Yeah. This is a nice, it's a little too loud, but yeah. Okay. This feels very 1980s. I can handle this. So, all right, let's begin, shall we? Where are we at? What do we have here? Being older beats the alternative, at least until you get to a certain point. True. On Geeks, like, I'm always available on weekends if things happen. At the moment, what I'm planning on is there are. I GM'd a game of, I don't want to say because I don't want to, in case we can't work it out, but I GM'd Spy Team 67 for Gen Con with a great crew of British RPGers, and I promised them that we would play again, and this time not a one shot, maybe like a two or three shots, so we can actually use the whole system and not truncate it. So it is my goal this summer to go and see if I can pull them in and actually run that as well. But this weekend is my planning of the summer RPGs. So that's going to be something that I'm hoping, knock on wood, that I can actually get going is a little bit more Spy Team 67. I've got some other things on the back burner. We will see. All right, so let's see. I like being one step closer to the grave. Come, sweet grace. Bring oblivion's embrace. Let's see. So let's start, shall we? Dramatic music. 1983. Now, of course, Dungeons and Dragons had been around since the 70s, but you know, some people are way too young at that moment. But in 1983, TSR Games came out with the Red Box, which was actually a reprinting of the Red Box with new art, and this Red Box, art by Elmore, was something that, shocking of shockingness, you could actually get at Toys R Us. It was a nice, box set of Dungeons and Dragons, and you could. Oh, you know what I don't have going on right now? I don't have my headphones in. I thought to myself, something is so strange right now. What is the strangeness? And I said, there we go. Much better. 1983, first year of pharmacy college. So, I wasn't happy 13. Max Ritter got your box set at K&K Toys in 1979. So, in this moment, Dungeons & Dragons The Red Box came out. Now, some things you should know. I'm going to let you know where we were. A couple years earlier, my babysitter was playing Advanced Dungeons & Dragons with her boyfriend, and sometimes when she'd babysit me, all of her friends would come over and they would play Dungeons & Dragons, and wee little me would sit and watch them play and think. I thought it was very, very interesting. And I remember she said to me one day, "You know what? You would make a good dungeon master," is what she said, thus cursing me to be a forever DM, although online has solved that problem. So, I remember thinking, oh, there's this thing called Dungeons & Dragons. I should like go and play it one day. And a couple of years later, around 1983, the new book came out, the Dungeons & Dragons Red Box came out. And I remember looking at it and thinking, this looks amazing, but I had no money. So I saved up as much money as I could, like my little quarters here and there. And one day, the Red Box went on sale at the Toys R Us games, and I got it for probably $5 or $6, probably is what I got it. And then I took it home, this Red Box, and the Red Box was a nice big box of Dungeons & Dragons. It had, when you opened it up, it had 2 books. It had the Player's Manual, and it had the Dungeon Master's Manual, and it had a set of polyhedral dice, which I'd never seen before. Very exciting. I believe they were a blue, kind of like a not particularly exciting blue, and it also came with a wax crayon that you would rub over the dice to sort of, because it didn't have printed numbers, it had like little grooves for the numbers, but you had to rub it over with the crayon so you could actually, so the white would go in there and so you could actually see it. And I thought, ooh, look at these funny shaped dice. It's so exciting, right? When you start, I thought that it might be really interesting for those of you who either have never done it or haven't done it in a while to see what this would have been like. So I thought we could spend some time with each other just a little bit. If you would like to know, this is what you were first confronted with. And I think I can probably make this a little bit, well, we will see. Let me move this over here. I don't think I can make it too much bigger without losing the full page, but so why don't we see what happens? Now, I would say, oh no, you're not going to read this whole thing. No, I will not read the whole thing, but you start in the game real quick, is what I'm trying to tell you. You start in the game really quickly. So we have this preface about the game, which you can't read, but that's okay. That's what I'm here for, right? It says, you know, this is the Menser version of the game. Hello, can a banana dial? Ooh, if we get a name game, that'll be hard. So it says, it starts off with, this is a game that is fun. It helps you imagine. As you whirl around, your sword ready, the huge red fire-breathing dragon swoops towards you with a roar. See? Your imagination woke up already. Now imagine. The game may be more fun than any other game you've ever played. The Dungeons & Dragons game is a way for us to imagine together, like watching the same movie or reading the same book. But you can write the stories without putting a word on paper, just by playing the D&D game. You, along with your friends, will create a great fantasy story. You will put it away after each game and go back to school or work, but like a book, the adventure will wait. It's better than a book, though. It will keep going as long as you like. It's nearly the most popular game ever made, and you will see why in just a bit. When you bought some other game or book, did you ever think, gee, that's nice, but not quite I thought it would be? Well, your D&D adventures will be just what you want, because you're the one making them up. It's not hard. takes a little reading and a little thinking, but most of all, it's fun. It's fun when you discover that nobody knows, and because this is partly where some of my way of thinking about D&D is probably started from, actually. It's fun when you discover that nobody loses and everybody wins. It's fun when you get good at the game, for example, knowing what to expect in a kobold cave and which dragons are on your side. And you don't have to put in a coin each time, like many other games. Remember, it's 1983. Arcade games are very popular right now. Once you have these rules, you don't need anything else. And I will note, just a side note, I remember one of the things that I really liked about Dungeons & Dragons back in the day is that, unlike, some people are like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. And I was like, no, I bought this box set, and that's all I bought for a couple of years because I was a kid and I had no money, right? And this was all I needed. I ended up getting the AD&D books, and then that's all I used for a really long time. I still only have like 2 or 3 adventures, but there you go. Let's see. There's more, of course, if you want it, right? Exciting adventures to play, miniature figures of monsters and characters, expert rules for more experienced players, and lots more. But you already have everything you need to start. This package and your imagination. That will do it. Yes, it does cost one more thing, which you also have right now, a bit of time. It takes a few minutes to learn the basic rules and another hour or 2 to play a full game. You'll probably want to spend more time and might even make it a hobby. Millions of people have, but for now, just sit back and imagine. Your character stands atop a grassy hill. The sun glints off your golden hair, rippling in the warm breeze. You absentmindedly rub the gem-studded hilt of your magic sword and glance over at the dwarf and elf, bickering as usual about how to load the horses. The magic user has mentioned her spells and says she's ready to go. A dangerous dungeon entrance gapes at you from the mountain nearby, and inside, a fearsome dragon awaits. Time to get moving. Have fun. Frank Menser, 83. So, why don't we, shall we? It became expensive when you got to Citadel and Tall Parth the figurines. Ral Parth, yeah, I just didn't, right? So we're going to actually start with what happens when you pick up this book, and you actually start with an adventure. This is how we begin. We start here. Learning how to play Dungeons and Dragons games. In case you don't know, we're going to learn how to play it right now. This is it. A dungeon is a group of rooms and corridors in which monsters and treasures can be found. And yes, you will find them as you play the role of a character in a fantasy world. There are many kinds of monsters, but dragons are the biggest and most dangerous, and have the most treasure. You can start playing this game right now, without learning any rules and without anyone else to play with. Just start reading and you will discover the basics of the game in a matter of minutes. By the way, I thought I'd have this screen up here so that you can see the art, because the art was very evocative at the time. During your first adventure, you will only need one of the dice in the box. The others will be used later. For now, all you need is the roundish one with all the numbers 1 through 20 on it. Please note, I'm going to interrupt myself right here. I just want to point out that this little note about the roundish one with the 120, most people at this point in time had never seen polyhedral dice, right? The only dice they'd seen are the regular D6s, and they hadn't seen anything else. I was thinking about this because I was reading a post where somebody was talking about the Genesis system, and somebody was like, an old school gamer was like, ah, man, I hate custom dice. Why don't you just use normal dice? And the minute I see some game that uses non-normal dice, I don't want to play it. And I was like, oh, Dungeons & Dragons uses non-normal dice. But anyway, use the crayon to fill in the numbers and rub off extra wax with a tissue so only the numbers are colored in. After you do that, get a pencil and paper and you're ready to start. Read this booklet just like any book. Don't skip around. It's important, don't skip around. This edition has been completely revised to introduce the game to you step by step. While you are reading the next sections, you will learn many things about the game. You do not have to memorize everything as you go along. By the time you have played the solo adventure, pages 13 to 22, you will know how to play the basic game. The rest of the booklet gives other details that you will need when playing the game with others. In group games, one person is the dungeon master, and everyone else is a player. The dungeon master, or DM for short, runs the game while the others play the roles of the characters. The other booklet in this set, Dungeon Master's Rulebook, gives all the information needed for running games. So, what is role-playing? This is a role-playing game. That means that you will be like an actor, imagining that you are someone else, and pretending to be that character. You won't need a stage, though, and you won't need costumes or scripts, although, you know, if you want to wear a costume, you can. That's cool. You only need to imagine. This game doesn't have a board because you won't need one. Besides, no board could have all the dungeons, dragons, and monsters and characters you will need. For now, while you are learning, you will play a role in your imagination. Later, when you play the game with others, you will all be playing different roles and talking together as if you were the characters. It will be easy, but first you need to get ready. So, what role will I play? Imagine. It is another place, another time. The world is much like ours. Well, much like ours was long ago, with knights and castles and no science or technology. No electricity, no modern comforts of any kind. Please note, wagons are also technology, but don't worry about it. Imagine. Dragons are real. Werewolves are real. Monsters of all kinds live in caves and ancient ruins. And magic really works. Imagine, you are a strong hero, a famous but poor fighter. Day to day, you explore the unknown, looking for monsters and treasure. The more you find, the more powerful and famous you will become. Your character's basic abilities. In the game, we need some way of describing your character. The fighter you will pretend to be. We can say the fighter is strong, fairly nimble, not too smart, but we need to describe the character a little better than that. We will call these descriptions abilities: strength, intelligence, and others. We will measure each one with a number called an ability score. And I'm going to have to move this over because you know what? We're going to have to go and bring out a character sheet, which, in case you didn't know, there is one in Roll20 that I feel like will do. So we'll just pull up our character sheet, why don't we? And move our character sheet right over. It's a little covered by our box, but we will survive. We will survive this. Let's see, ability scores. Where are we? Yes, the highest score possible, is 18, and the least is 3, for reasons we'll discuss later. I mean, you may not know why, but we'll just discuss this later. You are a strong fighter. Your strength score is 17. Well, I suppose we should probably... Oh, wait. Oh, old school. Let's put in my name. Trooper SJP. Look at that. That's great. And then my strength is a 17. Feel so excited by that. Ooh. Nearly 17. Nearly the highest possible. You are fairly nimble, which means that you can move swiftly. The name for this ability is dexterity. As a fighter, you don't need a high dexterity score. Your dexterity is an 11, which is a little above average. I will just note that this is D&D from the 80s when we were still rolling 3d6 rather than 4d6 drop the lowest. So our average is going to be a 10 rather than the 12 it is now. If you've not played Dungeons & Dragons, either basic or first edition, characters are a lot less powerful to start off with as they are now. Nowadays, character stats are much higher, character HP is much higher, just generally speaking. For example, a magic user has a D4 for their hit dice, whereas I think in more modern editions of a D6. And also, you actually had to roll for your hit dice first level, which means you could roll like a 1 and just have one hit point, whereas nowadays you get your full, you get your max HP for that first level. So just for those of you who do not know what it was like then, just please note you're a lot less resilient. Okay. Also, I really probably should be wearing my glasses. It's fine. Let's see. A fighter often isn't very smart. Your character isn't as smart as you are, but isn't stupid either. Let's say your intelligence is a 9, which is a little below average. So let's give our... By the way, you can be a smart fighter, y'all. That's all. Also, what is the alignment? I suppose we'll find, they may not actually talk to us about alignment just yet. Hello, Table Story. Welcome in, Ravers. I hope you're doing well. How was it going over there? I hope everything is awesome. Oh, Dark Sun is great. We are having a very special one-shot where we are learning how to play Dungeons and Dragons from the 1983 Red Box Basic Dungeons and Dragons edition, and the game just tells us how to play. We have learned, oh yeah, it is. The thing is, there are 2 different solo adventures. We'll find out. So we've learned that there are these dice, there are a bunch of different dice, and some of them are very strange looking. We learned this, and there's this one here. It is a roundish die, and it has numbers 1 through 20 on it. And that's the main one we're going to be using today. Also, there's an ability score called Strength, Intelligence, and Dexterity. We've learned that so far. Very excited about it. But let's find out. Right now we have a Strength of 17, an Intelligence of 9, and a Dexterity of 11. So now make a note of your ability scores. Just did. Anywhere in the middle of your sheet of paper. Right. Now, I will just note that you didn't even necessarily need to have a character sheet at this point in time. You could just write it all down on a piece of paper. Now, also, you will need equipment for adventuring. So you are carrying a backpack and other items, very similar to what you would carry when camping. Some of these items include food, water, rope, a lantern, and so forth. For now, just assume you have everything you need to survive in the wilderness.
Could you say that?
With monsters around, you need protection. You are wearing armor made of links of chain. It's called chainmail. And a helmet. You own a beautiful sword and have a dagger tucked into one boot, just in case. You know how to use all of your equipment properly. If you like, you can give your fighter a name. It doesn't matter whether you are male or female. Oh, I know, Siri, I'm not even talking to you, Siri. So I need a name. We need a name for this fighter. Let's give this fighter, let's make this fighter, a gal. Our fighter has to be human because this is D&D Basic 1983. Elf, dwarf, and halfling are classes. So you cannot be a halfling fighter. You can be a fighter or a halfling, but you cannot be both because dwarf is a class. So, let's pick a name. I feel like in, Nightbot says, this is the first adventure most people have played when deferring D&D way back in the day. Some violence, probably? Those are our content warnings. I have no idea. In honor of Red Sonja, Brigitte Nielsen, let's just call this fighter Brigitte. Brigitte the Red. Also, because Brigitte Nielsen played a communist in Rocky IV. So I feel like Brigitte the Red is the name of our fighter. Boom. This is what we got. Here we go. Brigitte the Red, our fighter. Oh, I suppose I should put down our class fighter. Boom. All right. All set? Let's go. Okay, here we go, everybody. Your first adventure. Yes, the X of Sylvester Stallone. Your hometown is just a small place with dirt roads. You set off one morning and hiked to the nearby hills. There are several caves in the hills. Oh, by the way, I just want to make sure. Is our audio, is our background music a decent enough level? Is it too loud? Is it too soft? Let me know, and I will change it if need be. I can make it louder or softer. It is all up to you. I know, Crit Twitch, this black and white art is excellent. It's one of the whole main reasons I've got this up here, so that we can see it, because it's so nice. Okay. So, yes, she is Danish. Okay, the audio is good? Perfect. All right. So, your hometown is just a small place with dirt roads. You set off one morning and hike to the nearby hills. There are several caves in the hills. There are caves where treasures can be found, guarded by monsters. You have heard that a man... No, this, by the way, Valtiel asks, this character sheet is built in to Roll20. This is a character sheet that is called Moldve. So this is, if you go and you search for Dungeons and Dragons, and there are a couple of different basic Dungeons and Dragons character sheets. There's the BECMI character sheet, which you don't want to use because it's got skills and all that stuff, which was not here at the time. But they have the Moldve version, and that is this one. So if you ever wanted to run some basic D&D, which might happen, this character sheet is here for you. So now, this is really important. I don't know if you've heard this, but you have heard, or I've heard. Should I use the word I here? Maybe I should, because it's me. All right. I have heard that a man named Bargle may also be found in these caves. Bargle is a sort of a bandit who has been stealing money, killing people, and terrorizing my town. If I can catch him, I can become a hero. As I approach the entrance, I look around. It's a nice day, and everything seems peaceful. I know that things aren't usually peaceful in caves where monsters live, and it's usually dark too. So I get out my lantern and a tinderbox, which, you know, is matches. So if you don't know what a tinderbox is, the game is going to let you know. Matches haven't been invented yet, so the box has flint and steel, and I carefully light the wick. The flame sputters a bit, but the oil soon burns with a soft glow. With my sword ready, I step into the cave. It's dark and musty inside. A passage leads inward from the entrance, going deeper into the hill. It looks like the only way to go, so I head in that direction, watching carefully for bats and other nasty creatures. Suddenly, I see a goblin. He is smaller than I am and looks like an ugly little man with gray skin. He sees me, gives a scream, waves his sword, and attacks. I dodge his blow and raise my sword to swing. If the goblin hadn't attacked right away, I might have tried talking to him, but now I have no choice. I must fight for my life. Okay. How to hit. In the game, whenever you try to hit a monster, there is a chance that you will miss, and, of course, a chance that you will hit. It's very hard for monsters to hit your fighter because, well, of your fine chainmail armor. The goblin isn't as hard to hit because his armor is not nearly as good. So, to swing at the monster, I must make a hit roll. I roll a 20-sided die. If I roll an 11 or better, 11 or less, because we're going low. Oh, sorry, no. If I roll an 11 or less, my character misses the goblin. If I roll a 12 or higher, I hit. The number is part of the combat rules. You will learn more about it as you continue. So I should probably roll my d20 and find out if I hit this goblin. Right? Okay, well, okay. I wonder, okay, well, I'll roll a d20. Here we go. And you can't see it. Let me just. Oh, you can't see it because it's. Oh, here. You know, I don't have enough space on the roll 20 yet. We'll get there. I'll just let you know. I rolled a 10, so I missed it. I miss. Oh no. By the way, I may not barter with Bargle. He's Bargle, not Haggle. It's true. If I miss, which I did, I come in there with my sword, whoosh, whoo, but it's dark, right? And I've got a lantern in one hand, or I put it down. I miss it. If I miss, the goblin tries again, but misses. I can swing again, roll again, and see if I hit. Well, okay, I'll try. I roll a 13, I hit. If you hit the goblin, he screams and runs away, down the corridor and into the darkness. Goblins can see in the dark. I have wounded him. Now, I would like to magic missile the darkness, but I'm a fighter, not a magic user, so I can't. If I keep missing, keep rolling. The goblin is trying to hit you, but you keep dodging the blows. Remember, if you hit the goblin, he runs away. Damage and hit points. In the game, when any creature is hit, either monsters or characters, damage is caused. There is a way of keeping track of damage. It's called hit points. The number of hit points is the amount of damage that a creature can take before being killed. Hit points can be any number. The more hit points a creature has, the harder it is to kill. We often use an abbreviation for hit points. It is HP, just so you know. I just want to note, there's been like a lot of debates over time, because look, there's been a lot of debates over time that like, oh, hit points don't actually represent damage. It's like being winded or falling out of luck. I just want to note, back in the day, they're like, no, it's damage. Like, I'm just gonna note it, So, your fighter starts with 8 HP, hit points, and still has all 8, since the goblin never hit you. Let me go and get my HP. I have 8 HP. And I have 8 HP. I'm so excited about that. Now, the goblin the first edition rulebook contradicts you. Yeah, the first edition AD&D rulebook does, but basic doesn't. My point being that D&D has never been consistent, right? It has never been consistent. Hello, Sea Spider. It's not the 70s, it's 1983. That's why we're getting 8-bit music. See, D&D has just never really been consistent about a lot of things, including alignment. Neither here nor there. So, now the goblin may have hit your armor or shield, but never got through your protection. So these attacks are still called misses. They didn't actually damage your character. Constitution, your health. Go grab your baggy pants. Also, Will, thank you. Your fighter is healthy and can fight a long time without tiring. This ability is measured by another ability score. It's called Constitution. Your Constitution is 16. Well, gotta just put that in there. Hello, Constitution. So, your Constitution, my Constitution is 16, well above average, but not perfect. My Constitution affects my hit points. If I have a low score, I might only have 2 or 3 hit points. On the other hand, if I had an 18 Constitution, I might have as many as 10 hit points, or more. So now, write your new ability score under the others on your sheet. It's right there. Near the top of the page, above ability scores, make a note of your hit points. Hit points 8. Now, back to your adventure. I stop for a moment to be sure that I'm all right, and then continue down the corridor. There are no side passages, no other way to go. Ahead, the corridor leads into a wider area, which we will call a chamber. You carefully approach the chamber, shining my lantern around to see if anything is there. A hiss comes from the corner of the room to my left, and there I see a huge rattlesnake, almost 10 feet long. Near it on the floor are hundreds of gold and silver coins. Okay, so talking to a snake will do no good at all, and you can't just sneak past it. Again, you must fight. I like how they note that there, in other circumstances, might be ways out of this, but not now. For this battle, you will have to keep track of hit points. Okay, the snake has 3 hit points. On your sheet of paper, near the bottom, write snake 3. Okay, well, sure. I can do that. Why don't I just, oh, you know what I could do? I can add a character right here. We'll call it Snake. I don't know how exciting this will be. Let's just try it out. Let's make a snake, and the snake will be a monster sheet, and it's going to be a snake. Boom. And it has 3 hit points. The only reason why this might be interesting is because maybe... I misspelled snake, by the way. Look, here's our snake. Oh, snake. And it has 3 hit points. There we go. Press enter to save. Boom. Yay, it has 3 hit points. By the way, I would like to show our nameplate because I think that's good. And also, bar 1 is 3 out of 3. Oh, maybe I can do monster HP. Boom. Save settings. There we go. We have a snake. Okay. I've got a snake. It's got 3 hit points. I'm ready. Okay, now I have to leave some room to take track of damage. This time, you will need to roll an 11 or higher to hit the snake. It's slower and easier to hit than the goblin was, but the snake has a better chance of hitting you than the goblin did because it's bigger and tougher. If you hit the snake, cross off 3 and write a 2 next to it. You have damaged a snake. If you miss, don't do anything. Okay, well, okay, here we go. I need to roll an 11 or higher. So I'm going to creep forward. There's this. First off, a 10-foot long rattlesnake is really big. I just want to say that. I just want to put that out there and say that this is a problem. So I'm going to Brigitte the Red, right? Who's a cross between Grace Jones and ooh, here we go. Her name is Brigitte Jones because she's a cross between Grace Jones and Brigitte Nielsen because we want to get full 80s here. Brigitte Jones The Red. Oh, and I suppose the red is her title. Boom. So just so you all know, this is a mix between Brigitte Nielsen and Grace Jones. And so Brigitte Jones The Red creeps forward with her beautiful sword, and she rolls. She swings mightily at this giant, massive snake. Dark skin, red afro. 14! I charge in at this massive giant snake with all of these coins of gold and silver around, and I swing, and the snake comes at me. And I dodge to the left and counter with my sword, and I do a mighty blow at this sword, reducing its hit points from 3 to 2. Yes. Yes. So excited by that. Sorry. Okay, if I hit the snake, I did it. Okay, the snake then bites at you and hits. I feel like they didn't roll. Okay, whatever. At the top of the sheet, cross off the 8 after the words hit points and write a 7 next to it. Well, that's really less exciting for my life. I feel like that's a little unfair, but that's cool. I'm going to, because this is actually just a slightly easier thing to do, I'm gonna actually pull out a token for Brigitte Jones as well. Now, I will note for the record that if I were to do this again in the future, I'd have cool tokens, you know, to represent each character, but that's okay. We just don't have that at the moment. Let's just put in our nameplate, and then let's put in our, where's our hit points? There's our hit points, right there. Great. But sadly for us, Brigitte takes a hit. And it's down to 7. Okay, okay. See, they're teaching you how the GM just hides their double rolling and declares the hit. See, they should not be teaching us that. See, Spider? Okay. While playing a D&D game by yourself, you should use this method to keep track of your hit points and the hit points of the monsters you meet. Okay, I can do that. So, poisoned? This is a very poisonous snake, which can be very dangerous. In the game, there is a way of finding out whether the poison hurt you or not. Roll the 20-sided die again. I'm very worried about this. Okay. Okay, well, we're going to roll again. Here we go, I suppose. Okay. 14! Okay. If you roll a 12 or higher, which we did, that means you have dodged before the snake could inject its poison, but you will still take damage from the bite. If you roll an 11 or less, your fighter takes 2 more points of damage from the poison. Cross off the 7 and write a 5. But we have a good constitution. We made our roll, so we're good, okay? You made this roll to see if you saved yourself from trouble. This roll, sorry, let me reread that sentence because I think it's meaningful. You made this roll to see if you saved yourself from trouble. This roll is called a saving throw. And will be used later in many other situations in the game. Your fighter swings again. Remember, if you roll an 11 or higher, you hit and can subtract 1 hit point from the snake. If you miss, do nothing. 14! Eee! By the way, this is super old school, and I know how little hit points I have, so I'm very, very excited. So, Brigitte Jones The Red, right? Huge red afro. Very exciting. Has that big counter, strikes the snake. The snake comes in, latches its fangs on me, right on the shoulder, right through my chainmail. And before the snake can start pumping its venom in, I, knock the snake's fangs out of my shoulder, back up, and then strike true right into the snake's center mass. The Brigitte of Jones. And I hurt the snake quite a lot, is all I want to say. Is what happens. And I'm okay with that because the snake is trying to murder me. So I feel like that's okay. So saving throw, fight again, good. The snake bites your fighter again. Again, rude. They should at least roll. You lose 1 more hit point. Okay. All right, well, I will do that. I will lose 1 more hit point. I'm down to 6 hit points, everybody. Okay. And I must make another saving throw. Okay. Okay. I have to make another saving throw, everybody. 14! I'm rolling 14s. I save. Okay. So I strike true right in the snake's chest. The snake thrashes about and then, swings at me with its tail. I try to dodge the tail, and as I dodge the tail, it comes in and hits me from behind, its fangs digging deep into my back. And I can feel the pain and the ripping, and I know I'm bleeding, but I'm able to push it back off so it does not get its poison inside of me. I can swing again. Okay, I will do so. A 19! 19! Yes. Thank you. If the snake still lives, it doesn't. It bites and misses. In this battle, the snake won't hit anymore. In a regular game, it might kill your fighter before you hit it at all. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for letting me know. When the snake's hit points become 0, the snake is dead. If your hit points ever reach 0, you're dead. Oh, okay. So, I push the snake off me, and I swing around to face it. And as I swing, it's a fluid motion. I swing around because, again, this is fantasy fighting where we're not keeping our point towards our enemy. We're making a lot of really broad moves, but it's cool. I swing around after I move the snake's head off, and in one swoop, I swing my sword, and I decapitate the snake. And this 10-foot-long rattlesnake lies bleeding on the ground of this chamber. Snake blood everywhere. I'm hurt, but there's nothing I can do about it right now. The damage my fighter has taken can be healed by a few days' rest. the dead snake is not dangerous, so I get to work. I pick up the many coins and put them in cloth sacks that I brought with me, because I did. I brought lots of cloth sacks with me. You got to protect your zone, right? As I'm doing this, I notice that besides the gold, there are 3 types of silver coins. Most are silvery coins. Most are silver, but others are more valuable metals called, are you ready for this? Electrum and platinum. I know. Electrum pieces and also platinum pieces. Now, this is a rich treasure. Snakes usually have none, though. The treasure probably belonged to someone else who tried to kill the snake, but failed. Sometimes treasure could be hidden. Looking carefully around the room, I find a small gem, a pearl, in one corner. It may be worth 100 gold pieces itself, which is amazing. We've got so much money. And also, Valtiel notes, well, they're dead, whatever. RIP. After resting a bit to catch my breath, I shine the lantern around, and I see another corridor leading further into the darkness. Looking back the way I came, I see the light of day shining in the cave entrance in the distance. It looks tempting, but I remind myself that I'm a courageous fighter and I shouldn't run away just because of a little fighting. Even though, I've lost quite a bit of hit, it's fine. Remember, though, that I am hurt. If I continue on, beware. If I see another snake or something else that looks dangerous, I should probably go back. Don't get killed. Live to fight another day. The treasure will wait. Asterix. You know how many D&D players never retreat from battle? I just want to note that Basic D&D 1983 page 4 says, hey, you might want to retreat sometimes if you run into a monster that is too big for you and you are injured. Retreat sometimes is a good idea. Just, hey, these are wisdom from 83. I carefully start down the corridor into the unknown. My lantern held high and my sword ready. The corridor leads to another small cave. As I approach, I hear a voice, and I see a light. I pull the shutters closed on my lantern so I can hide better, and I carefully peek around the corner. To my right, sitting by the cave wall, is a beautiful woman wearing armor like mine. There's a picture of her. She has no sword, but a rod with a metal ball on the end. This is a weapon called a mace. A lit lantern is on the floor next to her. She seems to be meditating or praying. Honey's like, I always wonder how many people died to these encounters back then. Hey, I was playing a magic user with 1 hit point, and magic users had 2 spells and no cantrips and 1 hit point and no armor and a dagger. So I'm going to tell you, and those spells were light and sleep. There was death. Death happened, is all I'm saying. So I decide that she might not wish to be disturbed. But as I try to quietly tiptoe past, she looks up and says, is the armor a chainmail bikini? Elmore doesn't seem to have made a chainmail bikini, so I feel like she's fully clothed. And so she says, let's see. She's going to say, greetings, friend. Looking for the goblin? You might... Oh, you're hurt. May I help? She watches me carefully, in case I'm dangerous, but seems to want to help. I apologize for disturbing her, and I wondered what she knows about the goblin. And I'm so sorry for disturbing you. I do wonder what you know about the goblin. And oh, most of all, how might you help me? But wait, she might be an enemy. Wait, there were women in 1983? I thought those were more... Yeah, there were some women in 1983. There were. It's crazy. Keeping my sword ready, I move closer. She stands and says, "My name is Alina." Stop. Collaborate and listen. I just had a memory, and it's the opening to She-Ra from the 80s when it says, "My name..." In the beginning of She-Ra, it starts, "My name is Aurora, He-Man's twin sister and princess of..." whatever it was. No, she's Adora. "I am Adora, He-Man's twin sister, and, blah, 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 blah." Oh, gosh. I used to have that whole entire opening monologue memorized. "I am Adora, something, something, and He-Man's twin sister. Magical powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, 'For the honor of Grayskull.' And now I, along with Swiftwind, and we fight the evil force and thank you, and defender of the Crystal Castle. Thank you. I am Adora, He-Man's twin sister and defender of the Crystal Castle. Magical powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, 'For the honor of Grayskull, I am She-Ra.' Together, with my trusty steed, Swiftwind, and whatever, we go fight the evil forces of Hordak." Oh, nice reference. I'm gonna have to save that because I'm gonna need that for later because it's important. You know, the opening to She-Ra is important. All right, but back to our adventure. Trooper saying, "I'm Adora" in a very Dora the Explorer accent. I do try. "My name is Alina, He-Man's twin sister. I'm a cleric, an adventurer like yourself. I live in a town nearby, and came here seeking monsters and treasure. Do you know about clerics?" Stop and imagine what your character would say. Back in town, she might be one of your neighbors. You are not sure, but you don't know about clerics. So I think I would say something like, "Well, I don't... I'm also from the town next door. My name is Brigitte Jones The Red. I have just started adventuring. I've adventured just a little bit, not so much. But I thought that I would go into this cave here and try to find this Bargle who's been terrorizing our town. And I would crush this Bargle, because I am a mighty fighter. I have 8 hit points. But so far, I saw a goblin that ran away through this tunnel, and I was hit by a snake, a giant snake. I'm not quite certain how you were able to get here without fighting this snake, or running to this goblin. Seems a bit suspicious. How do I know you're even from this town? How do I know that you're even a neighbor of mine? I kill you! No, I don't kill you. I don't kill anyone. There's no killing. But... yes, I've not seen this town. It's very strange because it says that our town is a small town, which I assume is sort of like a hamlet or something with perhaps only a few hundred people, so that I wouldn't even know who you are is a bit strange. Alina, if that is your name. But no, I don't know anything about clerics, but I've even heard of them. Why don't you tell me something about them? Also tell me where in town you live, for example. Do you know who the mayor of this town is? I just would like a little bit of, confirmations that you are who you say you are. After listening to you, Alina says, "Well, the goblin went that ways." And she points toward a corridor leading out of the room. "He came through here so fast, I almost didn't see him. You hit him? Well, good for you. Goblins are nasty." Valti's like, "Oh, Mayor Burgermeister, of course. Also, tell me how you keep your hair so shiny while crawling." Like, her hair has great body. It is very shiny. I have a lot of questions. And apparently, the goblin just ran by. Interesting. All right. Well, since you don't know about clerics, let me explain. Clerics are trained in fighting like you, but we can also cast spells. I meditate, and the knowledge of spells enters my mind. One of the spells I can cast right now is a curing spell, and Well, you look like you need it. Spellcasting? I've heard of it, but I know nothing about it, because I'm Brigitte Jones The Red, and I don't cast spells. So I'm still cautious, but I watch as the cleric says a few words and touches me lightly on the arm. Magically, my wounds are healed. On your sheet, cross out your hit points and write down 8, the full amount. I am going back to my full hit points. Yeah. Just back to 8. Feel good about it. Also, Brigitte Jones The Red didn't like studying very much. No, it's true. Like, at all. Feel better? She asks. Would you care to sit and rest a bit? I'd like to tell you a few things that you will need to know later. Oh. I sit down. Suspicious. Happy to rest, but keeping my sword handy in case of trouble. She sits down next to me. She sits down next to her lantern. If you didn't know about clerics, you probably don't know about magic users. They're also adventurers, like you and me, but they study only spells and rarely fight. They have different spells than we clerics do, and instead of meditating, they learn their spells from books. There are a few magic users living in town, but not many. Now, she's telling me that there's these magic users in our town, and I didn't know that at all. So, how many people live in our town? It said our town was very small. Why is there, like, magic users in our town? Is this some sort of strange, like, resort town? Some sort of... I mean, it seems very fancy. I don't even know how to read. No, I'm not a barbarian, so I do know how to read, I think. But I find this whole thing, well, suspicious. Also, this wonderful new art. Well, if you are attacked by a bad magic user, you might be able to avoid the magic, but it's harder than avoiding poison. Spells can be helpful, but they can be very dangerous too. By the way, that looked like a snake bite that I cured. That can be very bad, because most poison, well, is deadly. You were lucky that it didn't cause more damage. Some other creatures also have special attacks, like poison. Some can paralyze, and some can even turn you to stone by just looking at you. Unless you look away in time. And well, dragons are the worst. They can breathe fire, acid, or other deadly things. You can never avoid all the damage from their breaths, but you can lessen if you cover up in time. Well, so I feel like Alina knows a lot more about adventuring than I do, and I also feel like I clearly have not been paying attention to what's going on in my town. Sea Spider notes, this sounds so much like a job training pamphlet that I wonder how many young players grew to write those. It's a good question. So my character has different saving throws for each of their special attack forms. These will be explained later. Charisma, my personality. Ooh. Your fighter gets along fairly well with the cleric. She was friendly right away, and this is the effect of another ability score, your charisma. Since your fighter is a likable person, your charisma score is above average, 14. Remember, 18 is the best possible. Oh hey, I've got a 14 charisma. That's pretty awesome. Good for me. You know, Brigitte Jones The Red? Of course she has a 14 charisma, come on. She skipped ahead. Yeah, she did. She skipped ahead. She already knows about saving throws. I feel like she's maybe done this before, you know. Now, if I had a low score, the cleric would have been very cautious and might not have offered to cure me at all. Ooh. So, wisdom, my common sense. The cleric is very wise. This is another ability score, different from intelligence. For example, imagine that you feel wet drops on your arm. Your intelligence would tell you that it's raining. Your wisdom would tell you to go indoors to avoid catching a cold. Classic. Crown's like, of course you did this before. She's gotten to the part where she gets to pick to be a cleric instead of a fighter. That's true. That's true. That's fair. Now, your fighter is not very wise. Your wisdom score is an 8. Well, that explains a lot, I suppose. Okay, great. The cleric has a wisdom of 17, but is fairly weak with a strength of 9. Each type of adventurer has a different specialty. Magic users, for example, have high intelligence, but often low strength. Put these 2 ability scores on your sheet. I already did it. Sharing adventures. Leroy Jenkins. As your fighter talks with the cleric, you get to know each other a little better. She offers to come along to help in the adventure. Although this means that the treasure should be split between you, it also means that together you can defeat more dangerous monsters and find more treasure. And 2 adventurers have a better chance of success than either does alone. You decide that it would be a good idea, and together you get off down the next corridor. I will try not to fight Bargle without you, Carlin. Feed the kitties, come back, and then there will be Bargle. Side by side, you quietly walk down the dark passageway. You see another corridor branching off to the right, about 20 feet ahead, keeping your lantern half shuttered so you can see what you are doing without attracting much attention. You move up the corridor and peek around the corner. 4 beast-like humans in tattered clothes are standing in a group, about 10 feet away, down the side of the corridor. But they make no noise at all. Quiet as the dead. They look like they are waiting for some poor victim to come along. Before you can speak, the cleric touches your arm and points back the way you came. The 2 of you back up a few feet so the creatures won't hear you. "They're ghouls," she whispers. "If one hits you, it could paralyze you. Ghouls are undead monsters, very nasty things, neither dead nor alive, but something horrible in between. We clerics have some power over these creatures of darkness. Follow me, and wish for luck." I move forward again, but with the cleric leading the way. Peeking around the corner, I see the ghouls. Luckily, they don't seem to have heard our whispers. The cleric pulls a necklace out from under her armor, and I see that there is a symbol of one of the town churches on her silver chain. She boldly steps out, holds up the symbol, and says harshly, "Begone, vile things!" When she steps out, the ghouls quickly turn to attack. But now, as she thrusts the symbol out, the ghouls pause. And suddenly, in a rush, they scramble away down the side corridor into the darkness, and all in dead silence. "Don't bother to chase them," she mutters. "As I said, they can be quite dangerous, and we should continue on our way. I was lucky to turn them, capital T, and it might not work again." I believe, well, there are some rules about whether or not I would have gotten, I don't know if I would have gotten any XP for that encounter, because I did not technically engage in that encounter, and old school D&D rules say that you have to engage in the encounter in some way in order to get the XP for it, so she might have actually just gotten all of that XP by herself, which is probably why she's so high level. Anyway, as we continue down the corridor together, she explains. "We call this turning undead, you see. Only clerics can do it, and sometimes it doesn't work. Ghouls are only one of many kinds of undead monsters. There are also skeletons, zombies, and, well, much worse. If you had been alone, you could easily have been ambushed and, well, probably slain. Let's hurry, because the turning only lasts a few minutes. There are too many of them for us to handle." Let's note, 4 ghouls, too many for 2 heroes. A cleric and a fighter to handle. Basic D&D, 1983. You see a door ahead, to the right. This is unusual in caves, and you approach it slowly and quietly. The corridor continues past it into the darkness. Together, you examine the door. It is made of wood, with heavy iron bands across it. The hinges seem to be on the other side. A large keyhole is below the curved metal handle. I don't see anything dangerous, says the cleric, but then I don't know much about traps and the sort of traps you sometimes find on doors. It's worth a try. Note, she is not a thief. Sorry for anything for me. Four ghouls are a lot. They are. Four ghouls are a lot for first level adventurers. Absolutely. She tries to approach it, but the door seems to be locked. Could you try to force it open? She asks. I back up a bit, and with a short run, I slam into the door, but try as I might, I can't break it open. I feel like there's a check for this. What a pity, murmurs Alina. There's probably some nice treasure in there, but we can't get to it. We need a thief, she says. Oh, we need a thief. Seeing the puzzled look on our face, she explains. You may think that thieves are bad, but many of them aren't. Thieves are adventurers too. Some of them are quite nice folks, really. You do have to keep an eye on your coin purse, but a thief can be very helpful, finding traps, opening locks, climbing walls, and doing other things. The original scenario from the DMG was brutal. Yes, it was. It really was. I'm sure we could do better if we had a thief along, and a magic user could help too. I usually go adventuring with those types, plus a couple of big fighters like you to handle the rough stuff. Unfortunately, nobody else wanted to come along this time. Note, this moment of the book is subtly telling you that you should probably have a balanced party of fighter, magic user, thief, and cleric. That's what this passage is telling you. I know. Oh, that carrion crawler, man. I know that nowadays people are like, you want to do like an all-fighter party? Do it! But that's also because there are short rests and you can heal up a lot better now than you can before. And everybody has magic and like and actually because of skills, everybody can do everything sort of in different ways. So it's a lot less specialized. I mean, it's still specialized, but not in the same way. Back then, you really did want to have a balanced party, but also it is true, Sea Spider. This book is also telling us that the cleric has way more friends than we do. Also, we apparently are very likable, but we don't know anything. That's all. That's it. You try the door again, but it won't open. So with a sigh of regret, the two of you continue down the corridor. The corridor curves to the left. By the way, the reason why I'm not mapping is because it's not giving me distances. I mean, I suppose I could be mapping, but that should come later. So, the corridor curves to the left, and you see a light ahead. You stop and listen, and hear voices. One sounds like a man, but the other sounds like a goblin. "Get up, you wimpy weakling," growls the man. "Who else did you see besides this fighter and a cleric?"
Please, master, don't hurt,
whimpers the goblin.
"Nobody else, nobody. I hurt the fighter real bad, but I come to tell you right away."
The goblin lies don't seem to fool the human. "Get up, I say, or I'll turn you into a toad. You probably ran away without even trying. Nobody else, you're sure." Ooh. I know, mapping since Infocom games.
"Nobody else, master, I swear."
Humph. They could still mean trouble. Perhaps we can trick them and kill them without a fight. Alina taps your arm once again, and you back up to discuss the situation. Hey, look at that. Party communication, everybody. Love it. I thank you, Void Smoker. I do try to get a good Wax Even impression. I do. Hey, we've now got Graph VTT. I recognize that man's voice, she says. It's Bargle. One of those bad magic users. He probably cast a spell on the goblin to force it to serve him. If we go back, we should be safe. Oh, I almost forgot. The ghouls are back there. If Bargle only has one goblin, we should risk the battle, rather than face all those undead. Besides, he's not ready for us yet. Can't make much use of that 14 charisma when you spend all your time running around caves hitting goblins with swords. It's so true. Y'all, apparently we should go and attack Bargle, who's the terror of our town, rather than fighting 4 undead ghouls. Which is probably fair. Listening carefully, you hear the magic user and the goblin planning how to trick you and Alina. The two of you also make plans. The magic user is the most dangerous, and Alina will try to fight his spells with hers. My job is to fight the goblin. Yeah, Krillin says, for what it's worth, I'm pretty sure Alina's higher than First Level. She has to be, because she knows things. Either she's higher than First Level or she's read a book, unlike my character, who clearly... Yeah, I'm like an adventurer. I feel like this is my first adventurer. I feel like there's a lot of smack talk going on that is not substantiated with actual experience. Like, she knows about all the things, and I'm just... What is that on the ground? Oh, it's my mouse pad. I was like, what is that? So I have a little mouse wrist thing. Okay. Okay. Also, do we really think it's a good idea for her to fight the cleric, the magic user, and me to fight the goblin? Like, shouldn't we both concentrate our fire on the magic? Well, you know what? She's a higher level than I am. I suppose she knows what she's talking about. Yeah. Well, she actually graduated from the Adventurers College in town that you skip because learning is for nerds! Nerds! No, I want to hit the magic user because he's swishy. An adventurer is you. Trooper, could you tell me the page where the Don't Split the Party lesson comes along? I know a few peeps that have to retake that exam. I know, right? Okay. So, apparently, we're going to not focus fire. Okay. As you return, you hear a spell being cast up ahead. You peek around the corner and see a tall, bearded human in a black robe standing in a room. A goblin is crouched by one wall, watching. The robed magic user is moving his hands and saying words I don't understand. By the way, there's a typo. It says works. And suddenly, he disappears. The goblin crackles with glee and says,
"Ah, Master, it worked! Nobody can see you now, and what a surprise those nasty people will have! And I'm next! Make me invisible too, Master!"
The cleric whispers, "Now, before they can do any more! And I charge! We charge into the room together!" Oh! Okay, here's our fight. I wish I had a bag of flour. I could throw it and maybe, like, you know, more adventurers should have flour with them. You know what I mean? Just flour to throw it on the invisible creatures, because I feel like that would be great. Also, flour is very flammable. That's all. Here we go. Here they come to save the day. Okay. The goblin jumps up and meets my charge with a swing of its sword. It misses. Prax says, pocket sand. Pocket sand is indeed the way to go. We're going to just change this to be not a snake, but goblin, because we need to have a little goblin in here. And this goblin has yeah, we're gonna just make a goblin, and we're also going to make let's edit this. This should be goblin. So we want to have a goblin. We also want to have a Bargle goblin. Ooh, I'm gonna tell you what. In the future, I can actually just prep all this in really exciting ways. New character, and let's have a Bargle. Bargle. I have no idea how many hit points Bargle has, but cancel. Save changes. Okay. Again, I have no idea how many... I wonder if Alina needs a character sheet. I don't know. Just in case. Well, just in case, we'll just make one. Just in case. I don't know if she needs one, but we will have one. Just in case. Okay. Okay. So exciting. Flower is very, very flammable. Hey, Max Rider, I'll play it a Call of Cthulhu or whatever game. I'm ready for it. So, The goblin has 2 hit points, which I believe we can alter right here. Max hit points, 2 out of 2. Good. I still need to roll a 12 or better to hit. Roll the die and keep track of the battle in the same way as I did with the snake. Okay, so let's if the goblin hits me at, I don't know if it does or not. Well, I don't know. We're gonna roll a d20. We're gonna see. I roll a 4. So I charge in. I come in to chase, to sort of hit this goblin. I swing at this goblin, but the goblin is small, rubbery, and strange, and it's I feel like the lantern light is flickering off the sides of this chamber that we're in, this cave. And in the sort of the chaos as we charge in, the goblin sidesteps and I miss. Okay, as I battle the goblin, Alina looks wildly around for the invisible magic user. By the way, I think we should have charged in while the magic user was casting the spell and interrupted it, and just hit Bargle before Bargle got that spell off. This is my thought. This is my thought. Alina looks wildly around for the invisible magic user, waving her mace to and fro in the air. It seems to hit something, and you hear a deep grunt. She keeps waving her mace, but without further success, so she stops and casts a spell. You don't see what her spell does, so I concentrate on fighting. The goblin hits my fighter for 2 points of damage. What? Inappropriate. Do not like. Disapprove. Well, that's fine. Let me just go and take 2 points of damage. I really am not a fan of being damaged a lot by this thing, but it's fine. -2. I'm at 6. I don't like it. I only do 1 point of damage when I hit, compared to Goblin's 2, but the Goblin has only 2 hit points, so it's a fair fight. Roll again to see if you hit the Goblin. If you miss, the Goblin swings and misses again. Okay, here we go. I need a 12. 10. I miss! So, here I am. There's an invisible magic user, a bad magic user in a black robe, but invisible, somewhere. We have Alina around, swinging her mace. Here I am with my sword, Brigitte Jones The Red, and I'm trying to hit this goblin, but this goblin is tricksy. And as I make a thrust at this goblin, lantern in hand, one-handed sword, the goblin dodges to the side, and I cannot make a purchase. The goblin comes at me with its claws, but it just clamors against my chainmail. It's not able to get through at this moment. Okay, Alina can't find Bargle, and is starting to look worried. Suddenly, the sound of a spell comes from a far corner of the room. The cleric turns and runs in that direction, waving her mace and shouting. The black-robed magic user appears in the same corner as the spell noise, with a glowing arrow floating in the air beside him. He points at Alina. The arrow shoots and hits her. She wails and falls with a sigh, collapsing in the middle of the room. The glowing arrow disappears. Hey, Gamecaster! If your fighter hasn't slain the goblin yet, which I haven't, by the way, because I've only had 2 hits, roll again. Okay, I will. 13. That's a hit. That's a hit. That's a hit. This happens simultaneously, right? As the magic user Bargle appears in this corner with this magic missile, there's that moment of distraction, and I take my eyes off of Alina for that one moment, and Bargle, and as everyone's looking at Bargle and this magic missile, I swing my one-handed sword, and I slice the goblin, giving it a huge gash across its belly. But as I follow through with the strike, I see the arrow strike Alina, and I see her fall. But while I'm swinging, the goblin hits me again, causing 2 more points of damage. So I think what happens there is as I follow through with the swing and I see the arrow hit Alina and I see Alina fall, I have this look of shock upon my face. And as I see her fall, I don't see the goblin bring its claws forward, its gross rubbery gray claws, and slash me right across the neck for 2 more points of damage. And I just get hit, and my lantern, I hold on to my lantern, but the light is like everywhere. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my gosh. Remember to keep track of hit points for both the goblin and your fighter. I'm doing that. Okay. If your hit points reach 0, the enemies win the battle. You will not see home again. I noticed this. If I'm still fighting, which I am, the magic user stays back in the corner thinking about what spell to throw next. Roll again. Okay. I'm gonna roll again, everybody. 17! Okay, so I have this big gash. I am not doing well. I'm at half hit points. And this goblin has just like gashed me open, and I elbow this goblin with my elbow to throw it off balance, and as it throws off, to get it away from me, to give me a little bit of room, and as it gets a little space, I then turn and I just make a huge deep gash from shoulder right into the chest, the torso, and my blade sticks in it for a moment as it looks at me, and as it's sort of, let's say it has like a black-green blood sort of oozes out of its wounds. It sort of falls off of my sword, and it is dead. Rissa says, there's also a lot of things on YouTube if you search for D&D tutorial for beginners. Yeah, so this here is actually, I recently found out about D&D and would love to start, but I don't know how. Does anyone have any tips? Gamecaster, this book is the 1983 basic set, which introduces you in how to play Dungeons and Dragons, and you get to play solo. So if you, and I bet you can find the D&D basic set somewhere on the internet. I bet you can find it. And I recommend this. I recommend the Red Box. This is what I started with when I first started playing. And that's why we're playing it again this moment. And it takes you, it pulls you through, it takes you through everything that you need to be able to start playing. And yes, it's basic D&D, which is not D&D 5th edition, but it gives you a lot of the big basic concepts, and you can do it by yourself. And that's like a nice way to start. And that's what I did. And I recommend it. So I just hit this goblin. I kill it. The goblin started the battle with 2 hit points. The second time you hit the creature, its hit points reach 0, and he shrieks and falls dead on the floor. I've overcome 1 enemy, but the magic user remains. When the goblin falls, the magic user starts looking worried, watching you carefully. He starts saying magic words and waving his hands. He's casting a spell at me. I run at him, hoping for a chance to swing before he can complete the spell, but it's too late! The magic force touches my mind. Roll the dice once again. I must make a saving throw against the spell. If I roll a 16 or less, the magic takes effect, and I read the next section ending number 1 for this adventure. If I roll a 17 or higher, my fighter, Brigitte Jones The Red, avoids the spell. Skip to ending number 2 on page 8. All right, everyone. It comes down to this. This is the moment. I'm going to roll a d20. I don't know if you're ready for this. Oh my god, 2nd edition spellcasting was the best. It took time to cast, and whatever a caster started, the PCs would rush to try to disrupt. Oh, I remember that too. I remember. Okay. I'm gonna roll in D20, and I'm gonna roll my D20 just to see what the physical dice do. But we're gonna count what happens on roll 20. But I just, you know, old school both. Okay, roll 20 is the thing. Okay, it rolled. Did it roll? Did it roll? Did it roll? I can't look. Did it roll? Oh, it rolled. I roll a 7. I roll a 7, everyone. I did it. I rolled a 7. Well, let's go find out what ending number 1 says. Ending number 1, you miss the saving throw. As you near the magic user, a funny feeling comes over you. Why, he doesn't look so bad. In fact, Bargle seems to be a pretty nice guy. You think you used to be friends, but you're not sure just where or when.
Feeling better? He asks. You were overcome with rage for a moment. Are you okay now?
Sure, I reply, somewhat confused. You seem to be okay, Bargle, old pal. I only took a little damage from that goblin. Say, I saw some ghouls back there. We should get moving.
Indeed, replies Bargle. Well, let's pack up the goodies and move on.
Together, you collect the treasure, a small bag from the goblin, and a larger one from the cleric. Bargle picks up a black velvet bag, explaining that he dropped it while he was fighting the goblin. As you get ready to leave, you blurt out, "Shouldn't we take the cleric's body back? She helped me out earlier."
That would be nice, Bargle replies, but we're carrying all we can. We all take our risks here in the dungeon.
Max Ryder says, I had a goblin charmed, and I would update every night. He ended up a priest of a dwarf god. Awesome sauce. You should be writing RPG journals. Something seems wrong about that. You argue with Bargle a bit, but he convinces me that nothing could be done for her, and bringing her along could slow us down. Maybe enough the ghouls would catch up. So I head off down the corridor as if the best of friends. The corridor leads to another room, which is empty. We search it together. Nothing can be found. But looking down the next passage, I see a light.
"Ha!
Bargle!" I exclaim. "Look here!"
I see, he says. That must be a way out. We're in good shape now. Lead on, fierce fighter, Brigitte Jones The Red. I shall watch for the ghouls.
I lead down the corridor towards the light. Sure enough, it's a side passage leading out of the hill into the sunlight. As my stomach grumbles, I remember it's afternoon. I missed lunch in all of the excitement. Shall we head back? I ask as I squint out into the daylight. Oh, much brighter than my lantern.
Surely,
he replies. As I head outside, I start to talk about how hungry I am, and Bargle's reply, yes, it isn't in a language that I can understand. I stop and I turn, and I see him softly chanting a spell, waving his hands at me. Before I can ask what's going on, I begin to feel very sleepy. And then everything goes black. Something lands on my face, and I start to wake up. Opening my eyes, I see a leaf, apparently fallen from the tree above me. I'm lying by a cave, and it's late afternoon. I can make it back to town if I hurry, but suddenly I remember what happened. Bargle! The fight with the goblin! Alina falling, the strange, bad but nice feeling about the magic user. Horrors! I was enchanted! And where's the treasure? I get up quickly, brushing the leaves off my face and equipment. Perhaps Bargle was afraid to kill me, and just stole all that he could find, or Or more likely, Bargle was scared away by something before he could slit my throat. My dagger is missing and some food, but my sword is still in its sheath and my pack is still there. Probably because magic users don't have proficiency in swords and can only use daggers, and that's probably what happened. One sack remains, and from the pain in your back, I might have been sleeping on it. It contained some of the coins I found by the snake and the tiny gem. The rest is missing. I remember what happened to poor Alina. I should take her back to town. They might be able to help. And even if it's too late, she should get a proper burial. As I prepare to return to the caves, I find that my lamp has gone out. The oil all burned away. There is still one oil flask in my pack, so I refill the lantern, light it with my tinderbox, and head back into the darkness. I pass through one empty room and then find the bodies of the cleric and the goblin in the next. But I see dark, quiet shapes in the darkness beyond. It's the ghouls. Quickly, I put the cleric's body over my shoulder and I run for my life. The ghouls follow, snapping at my heels. I can't move as fast as usual with the weight of the cleric on my shoulder, but I win the desperate race, and I get outside once again. I pause for a moment, out of breath. Looking back, I see the ghouls in the cave, but they don't seem to be coming out. Then I remember Alina's words. Creatures of darkness. Maybe they hate the sunlight and only come outside at night? I'd better hurry to get back to town before dark. It's hard to run with the cleric across my shoulder, but I finally get back just as the sun goes down. Once there, I have an idea. Setting. Thoughts. I have an idea. Ooh, it might work well in Shadows of Estrin. Anyway, once there, I take her body to her church. It's too late to help her, but they can give her a proper burial. They thank me for my kindness and offer a small bottle as a reward. What is it? I ask. It's a magical potion, of course. The cleric explains. It's a potion of healing. If you are hurt, you can drink this and be cured. Somewhat like our magical curing spells. It's a nice magical treasure. Save it for an adventure in your future, in case a cleric you are traveling with runs out of spells. It's the least that we can do. The clerics thank you again for your help, and you thank them for theirs. I leave the church and head for my home on the other side of town, thinking about my adventure and all that I have learned. Now, pretend that you made... Wait, 17 strength, 16 con... I know, Brigitte, she can run all day, right? I'm an old school... I could carry... But, like, I feel like I have a pretty good carrying capacity, right? I feel like my encumbrance should be really, really good. Now it says, pretend that I made the saving throw, but I didn't, and read the next section to see what might have happened. I'm not going to do that, and I'll tell you why I will not. If you've already read the next section, skip to the winning section afterward. The reason why I'm not going to read it is because there might be people here who want to play through the scenario themselves, and I don't want to spoil what will happen, you know, if... Look at that art, y'all. Alina's dead! You know, I don't want to spoil it for you. But, I'm going to go... I mean, I love this line art. There's some other line art. I mean, this art... I don't know why people said, oh, art back then was so bad. I was like, this art was awesome. This art was so good. Also... Here, maybe I can do this for you. I want to show you... Let me zoom in. I think I can. Let me zoom in. Because I want you to see, like, look at the detail, right? Look at the detail. Let me go here. Like, you cannot see it as well, but look at the detail of the line art. There's so much great detail in that art. Like, it is, yeah, I mean, as a little, like, I remember looking at this art, like, because I was drawing a lot back then. I've published in a couple of small comic book anthologies, but that was way back in the day. And I remember looking at the amazing detail, all the ways in which the chain links were detailed, all the detail in the cape. I remember just practicing drawing like that. The detail in the hair. I mean, this is a style of art that I think of as being related in many ways to, of course, it reminds me of like 70s, sort of like 70s stuff. But I go back to like the 40s with like Flash Gordon, that really amazing sort of very detailed art, right, from that time period. It was like really, it was so good, everybody. It was so good. Yeah, I was a huge fan of that style of art, and I practiced so much. Oh yeah, Weird Tales. Oh, absolutely. Weird Tales. The artist, it's Elmore. And Elmore did the cover for, do I actually have this? I bet I do. Let me see if I can show you. Let me add this. Let me add the existing. I can show you. No, not that. Where is it? It's probably under here. Oops. Okay, this is very big. I don't want you to see this. Hold on. Let me get there for you. Yeah, Elmore. Elmore's art, so good. Reminds me actually of Jen Dursema, who was doing some Sword and Sorcery comic books back in the day, and her art. So this is. Oh, I think we can do it like this. Here, let's do it like this. So this is Elmore's. This is the cover for the Red Box, right? This was where the cover was, right there. And I remember looking at this cover right on the box. And yeah, right, Elmore was totally, yeah, I remember looking at this, I remember looking at the box before I could afford it, because it was like, I had to wait till it was on sale. It was like a half off sale. And I got it really cheaply, but before then I just look at the box. I like go to the store, I'd look at the box, I'd look at this dragon, I'd look at all the details on, like the details on the cracks on the stone, the bottom of this boot, right? The ways in which you can see all the sort of this looks like scale actually, like the links on this armor, the little dings and cuts on this shield where you could tell that, you know, blades had hit it before. All the details, you can actually see some little bit of damage on the dragon itself. I remember just looking at this boxed art. I would just go after school and I would just walk to that store, look at the box, not have enough money to buy it, and then go back home. I did that for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. I was like saving my money, and finally I had like $5 or $6 and it was half off, and I bought that so fast. Like, I bought that so fast because, right? Yeah. So, winning. You have just played a D&D game. This adventure was designed to show you some of the basic parts of the game. You played a fighter who tried to survive in the dungeon while fighting monsters and treasures. You succeeded, so your character wins. Wins is in quotation marks. I will tell you this, that I was very first, when I very first was introduced to D&D, what my babysitter told me was that you cannot lose in D&D. There's no winning and there's no losing in D&D. Your character might die, but you don't lose. You're like, and that has always been like a core center of how I play RPGs. It doesn't matter if my character succeeds or fails. There's no winning or losing. We're just telling a story. And that's always been really important to me. Anyway, it didn't feel like winning, Alina. Well, but it's corn girl. What a nice community you have. Please, please lurk, please do. There is a second adventure that I want to go and find out what happens, so we're going to continue on, but we have winning. Oh, my babysitter was amazing. My babysitter, I remember, it was like, this was the 70s, right? So she had like blue and purple eyeshadow, right? And she had a closet in her bedroom. So she had her bedroom, and in her bedroom she had a closet. And if you went inside the closet, she had posters, pinup posters of all of her heartthrobs. So she had a pinup poster of Scott Baio, of Sean Cassidy. Those are the two I remember, Sean Cassidy and Scott Baio. She thought that they were groovy. Those folks is what I was going to say. But I remember, and the poster from Tiger Beat, right, of Scott Baio had him leaning back with his feet up, and he had no shoes on. So like the foreground of the it was like one of those fold outs, right? It was like the fold out of the magazine. The foreground was his feet, and then like his head was the way back. It was just like an odd poster, and I didn't think he looked good because it was awkward, right? Sean Cassidy though, but nonetheless. So think a moment. Why do we play games? To have fun. Each player wins by having fun. So if you had a good time, you win. You can have fun even if your character gets killed. And if that happens, don't worry, you can always make up another one. Winning a role-playing game is like winning in real life. It's just succeeding in doing what you wanted to do and living through it. The fun comes from doing it, not ending it. This is why we say that in this game, everybody wins and nobody loses, except for Alina. Is this a game or a story, you ask? It's a little of both. As you learn more about it, it will become more and more like a game. You still have many game details to learn, so continue reading. You have met some monsters and won some battles. You have found some treasures, not only coins and gems, but a magical potion. Most important, you have learned how to use your own imagination while using the rules of the game. Could you see in your mind the wicked magic user, Bargle, or the kind, wise cleric, Alina? Can you imagine the gold and silver scattered on the floor by the huge, deadly rattlesnake, and the fierce battle afterwards? This is another part of the fun in a Dungeons & Dragons game. What? Trooper, I think I might have found... Vaultu, really? If you found that poster and it's online, drop it in the Discord, because that would be amazing. If you're playing Call of Cthulhu, you'd better ready to have fun while dying or going insane. But that then becomes the fun. So we learn about alignment, right? So there is one more adventure, and we have time to play it. So I feel like we should. So let's see. The Red Box was so evocative. It was so evocative. So let's see. We have a moment we think about how our character behaved. The fighter is one of the good guys. You want to do the right things. For example, you brought the cleric back home with you. On the other hand, the mag user and the goblin were the bad guys. By the way, good guys and bad guys are in quotation marks. They didn't care whether you lived or died, just what they could get from you. Selfish and nasty besides. There is a way to describe how you behave in the game. It's called alignment. Your fighter's alignment is called lawful. She tries to protect others and defeat monsters. Alina the cleric was also lawful. This is one reason why you became friends. Your charisma helped when you first met her, but if your alignments were different, you probably wouldn't have been so friendly to each other. So I will note this is basic D&D, and basic D&D had only 3 alignments, if I remember correctly. They just had lawful, chaotic, and neutral. No good or evil, just that's it. So Bargle, the magic user, had a different alignment than yours. He was chaotic, the opposite of lawful. He was selfish, cared only about himself, and steals from others. Most people don't like chaotics. You two wouldn't normally become friends at all, except for the spell he cast that magically forced you to be his friend for a short time. Monsters have alignments too. The goblin and the ghouls were chaotic, but the snake wasn't really good or bad, although it certainly was dangerous. Its alignment is called neutral. It will fight to protect itself and will help others, if that will help it. but it mostly is concerned with just surviving. Neutral doesn't mean stupid. Alignment has nothing to do with intelligence. It means a balance, an average between law and chaos. The snake was just a typical animal trying to stay alive and get something to eat. Alignment will be explained in more detail later in this booklet on page 55, which, you know, we're not going to actually get to because that's past our adventure, but I'm going to write down lawful because, you know. So now, where do you go? Well, you can have more adventures by yourself. Another adventure has been designed just for your fighter. It starts on page 13, where we're going to go. But before you play that adventure, you will need to know a few more details about your fighter and how to use all the dice. All the details of your character, your hit points, your ability scores, saving throws, and so forth, are written down for you on a sheet in the middle of this booklet, along with other details. The description of a character is called a character sheet. RQ Stefan says, I started with AD&D, but did a lot of Red Box Basic Expert stuff. Castle Amber was great. Yeah, I actually, I started with the Basic Box, but I very quickly moved to Advanced because at the time, my crew, the people around me were like, oh yeah, Basic's basic. Of course you want to play Advanced. Advanced is clearly better because it's got, like, Basics for babies, but Advanced is for advanced people. And we're, like, old. You know. Remove the character sheet by carefully folding along the dotted line and then tearing it along the perforation. You will find the scores for other character types in the center of this booklet too. These are for when you play with a group. You will have to write the information on copies of the blank character sheet from the back of this book. Do not use any of these characters for the solo adventure in this booklet. Use a pencil whenever you need to write on a character sheet, not a pen. Oh my gosh. Many of the notes you will make are temporary, like the amount of money you have, your equipment, and so forth. Get out the rest of your dice and the crayon. If you have the dice, the crayon, a pencil, and your character sheet, you're ready to learn some more. I would like to point out how many times... Yeah, we're teenagers, says Carlin. We're not babies. We don't need baby D&D. We're ready for adult D&D. And that was exactly the vibe. That was exactly the vibe. Like, I'm 14. I don't need baby D&D. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I remember having that, like, the advanced character sheet, the advanced D&D character sheet, which is so much more complicated, so special and fancy looking. I think I still have one actually in one of my folders, but I remember erasing the hit points so much that you get a hole in the character sheet. Yeah. Speaking of which, I have a question, which I don't know if you can answer. The question is my character sheet in here somewhere? Because if it is, I feel like it would be great to copy it. Oh, I think it might be in here. I think a copy of my character sheet is in here. So we'll look at it in a second. I'm struck by how much of a product of its time this is. In 1983, no one had laptops or cell phones. Nope. It looks like the character sheet is in here, so I'm going to have to probably copy it over. We'll do that together. So look at the whole character sheet bit by bit. Oh. This is awkward because I can't have both of these pages up at the same time. Oh, I know what I can do. I have an idea. I'm going to open this PDF up in a different reader so I can have the character sheet over here, and then I can see it. It's, let's see. This way I can do both, and we'll work it out. Adventure, and fighter. Hello, fighter description. Character sheet. Where are my ability scores? No. I feel like this was not it. This is not it, y'all. Magic user description. A bunch of rogue stuff. An elf. Great, because elves are a class. Playing in a group, characters. I don't know if I ever use an actual sheet. It's so hard to flip between pages when it's a PDF. That's the one thing. And there are many things I love about a PDF, but there are some things that PDFs are not as good at. And those things are cleric, magic user, thief, dwarf, elf, halfling. Where's my fighter? Anageek says, once I was introduced to the second ed as a kid, I made so many copies of the character sheet, I was insane. Oh, I remember making photocopying all day long. That's not my character sheet. Cleric, character classes. That's not it. Complete weapon list. This is a fighter description, but that is not the character sheet. That's just info on it. Let me see. This is a cleric. Also nice. These are characters. That's character classes. That's not useful. So let's look. That's the solo adventure, battles, dice, magic items, character. You know what? I think we'll just have to, I don't think it's in here. Well, we're going to go, you know what? That's the Dungeon Master Rulebook. What is this? Glossary, playing in a group, additional rules for melee weapons, encounters, character alignment, treasure, how to prepare. Ooh, this is an interesting section. I'll have to come back to this. This looks good. Charisma adjustments, dwarves, elves, making a new character, more on your different classes. You know what I don't think it's here. I think, well, we've got sample characters. Cleric, Magister, Thief, Dwarf, Elf, Halfling. Where's my fighter? This is what I'm looking for. I feel like they cheated me. They didn't cheat me. It's fine. There's no cheating in D&D. It's just that I don't think I have my character. And character classes completes. This is fighter. No, I don't think it's there. I do not think the sample character sheet is in here, but that's okay because we'll just make one. That's it. My fighter's name is Brigitte Jones The Red. So the UK had the benefit of the Games Workshop product. Oh yeah. I had a binder with slip sheets that my brother kept for me for sheets because my parents were on D&D, yeah. Okay, I lucked out, and this is Rissa, I had parents who were pretty open-minded, me too. So yeah, I was looking at the exact center, and there's a lot of samples, but not this one. So we're going to do this. So let's see what we have. Let's go to the character sheet. At the top of the sheet, fill in your name. Did it? Did that? What's your character's name? Have it. It could be the same as yours, or it could be a made-up one. Great. Your fighter's one of the good guys, so your alignment is lawful. This has already been filled in your sheet. Well, just did. If you want to play a neutral character, it's fine. The class of your character is the type of adventurer. It's been filled in. Because once a class has been chosen, it will never change. So 31, let me see. 31. The problem is that one has a charisma of 8. And so that is not the same character. Like, I see that character sheet on 31. I see you, Voltail, but my character has a charisma of 14, so that is not it. So I was like, 'cause that's where I'm like right around there, like 31, 32, but it does not seem to give me my joy. That's all right. We'll read through this and we'll get there. Let's see. So once you make a class, you can never change it again. So, you know, you are just starting, so your level is 1 or first. That's good. You will learn more about characters' levels soon. Your armor class is a measure of how hard it is for your monsters to hit you. Abbreviated AC. It can be any whole number, 9 or less. The lower the number, the smaller the chances are that you will get hit. Right? Since your character is wearing sturdy armor, your armor class is 4. I've got a 4 armor class. Awesome. By the way, I do wonder, class abilities, encumbrance and movement, magic items, normal items, weight of coins, other notes. Looks good to me. All right, armor class of 4. My hit points should go back to 8, by the way, because we are no longer dying. Just gonna note it. Let's see. Write that number in the shield shape. Did it? The box above, in the box above the word hit points, right there, put in 8. You should know what that means from your first adventure. We do. It's a measure of how much damage your fighter can take. At the top right corner, there's a place for the name of your dungeon master. Dungeon master. Not applicable at the moment. In group games, this is the person who plays the monsters while you play your character. You don't have one yet, so leave that blank. Later, when you're playing in a group, one person will be a dungeon master. Below that line is a rectangle labeled character sketch, which is not here, but I remember that. And you can you can draw in a sketch for character, which I always did. Or you can just pick a symbol, whatever you want. It says right here. The symbol could be a bird or a tree or anything you wish. For example, if your character's name is Hawk, you may wish to draw a falcon-like bird in the rectangle. The middle part of the character sheet gives you all of your ability scores and saving throws. We have our ability scores. Have that. So in the adventure, it said your ability score is because your starting character was already made up. Later, if you would like to play another character, you can use any of the others included in this booklet. But when you're ready to make up a completely new character, you will roll for your ability scores using dice. This is explained more in detail on page 48. Every D&D character has these 6 ability scores. The numbers are always between 3 and 18, a total of 3 6-sided dice. Carlin says, I like that the GURPS character sheet that had a mannequin wireframe it in the sketch slot. So much easier. Oh yeah, I love those too. Those were really good. So did Marvel Heroes, actually. Adjustments. Here we go. We're in our character. Adjustments. There's a place on the sheet for adjustments next to your ability scores. Okay. Sure. Next, if your ability score is very high or low, there may be adjustments, which can be good or bad. The adjustments will apply to certain die rolls in the game. An average ability score is any number from 9 to 12, so has no adjustments. Do you think, by the way, these are our adjustments right here? I feel like they are, right? I think that must be what they are. So with a low strength, it'd be harder to hit, but your great strength gives you a bonus. The plus adjustment, your +2 bonus helps you fighting. It is added. I'm going to say that's it, right? That's it right there. So let's see. It says 17. How did we figure adjustments? Was it -12, which was, is it -12 divided by 2 round down? I feel like that's what it was, right? So you get the +2 to 2 hit and damage. It also helps you try to perform feats of strength. It's already been included in your hit rolls for the solo adventures in this booklet. Really? Fine. Intelligence. Your intelligence is average, so there's no adjustment. That's fine. Because of your intelligence, your character can speak 2 languages. You can speak the same language as all other humans, which we call common. You can also speak a code language. See, here we go. Yeah, it's a +2 for a 17. That's what they said. Which... Right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so apparently it's a +2, which I wonder if it is... What page? You know there's a page. Armor class, missile table, charisma adjustment, ability score, bonuses and penalties. Yeah, so a 13 to 15 is a +1, 16, 17 is a +2, 18 is a +3. So here we go, old school, all right? Those of you who have not played D&D from back in the day, here we go. We speak 2 languages, common. Our fighter can also speak a code language called an alignment tongue. This is used to speak privately with someone of the same alignment. In your first adventure, you could have spoken to Alina, the cleric, in the lawful language, and Bargle, the magic user, wouldn't have understood what you were saying. He speaks chaotic. Characters usually don't use their alignment tongue unless they have to. You can say that you speak common and lawful. Near the bottom of the sheet is a place to write the names of your languages. Oh yes, Critwitch, alignment language was a thing back in the day. So I'm going to have to put down my languages somewhere. Let's see, what languages? Is there a spot for this? Let's do class abilities. Movement, equipment. Oh, character sheet. Treasure, other notes. Let's see. Languages. Common and lawful. I speak alignment language. Alignment language was so weird, and I don't think I ever had a single game where it was actually used. Oh, I think I had a lot of, yeah. Oh yes, it was a great way to find out what alignment people were in your party. You could take them as red. Anything beyond the 2 would be unusual. Let's see. Then we have wisdom. Your wisdom is 8. Move this right over here. Just below average, so you have a penalty of adjustment of -1, which is why it was hard. That saving throw was hard for me. I think we had some people that use them because people like to have secret languages with each other, you know. As with your strength bonus, your wisdom penalty has been included in the solo adventure to come. In group games, you will subtract 1 from your die roll each time you make a saving throw against a magic spell. Alina the Cleric had a bonus against magic spells because of her high wisdom, but she had a penalty on her 2 hit rolls because of her low strength. Dexterity is average, so no bonus. If you were clumsy with a low dex, you would have trouble using missile weapons like a bow and arrow, which you will learn about later in this booklet. You might also react a little slower than monsters, but your average score keeps you even with them. Constitution. Your constitution score is high, so you get a +2 bonus. Yeah, I think I should probably get a +1 for charisma. As we explained in the adventure, you have 8 hit points. Without your good constitution, you would only have 6 hit points. If you had a low constitution score, you might even have less. A higher constitution score would mean more hit points. Charisma is also above average. You get a +1 bonus when meeting and talking to others. Your charisma will affect their reactions. They will probably like you, and you can probably get your own way a little more often because of your charisma bonus. As with other bonuses, your charisma has been accounted for in the solo adventure to come. Thank you. Saving throws. In the first adventure, you made saving throws against poison and magic spells. When you try to save yourself from a special attack, you roll the 20-sided die if the result is equal to or higher than the number you succeed in avoiding the attack. There are 3 other saving throws. Against magic wands, paralysis, and dragon breath. Dragons can be very dangerous, so there weren't any in your first adventure. You will always use a 20-sided die to roll a saving throw. For most characters, the easiest saving throw to make are those against poison and magic wands, and the hardest are against dragon breath and magic spells. Saving throws are explained in more detail in the Dungeon Master's rulebook. We need to look up our saving throws. Thieves' Cant is a real thing and can't be copyrighted or trademarked. So we have to find our saving throws, which is on page 36 if you have your red box out there. So, as a fighter, my death ray should be a 12. But I have poison or death ray. Okay, I wonder about that. Okay, and then magic wands is a 13. Paralysis is a 14. 15 for dragon breath. And 16 for spells or magic staff. That's rough. That's rough. That's rough. So yeah, that's rough. Also, I want to note that it really feels to me like they did not account for that my penalty, because I had to roll a 16 to resist that magic spell, and that should have been a 17. Is all I'm going to say. That's fine. It's fine. Special abilities. Your character does a better job at fighting than any other type of character, but this is not a special ability. Most other characters can't fight as well, but have special abilities which they need for survival and success. The special abilities of each character are given in the class descriptions. For example, cleric can turn undead, magic users can cast spells, as can clerics and elves, and thieves can pick locks. And I do not think fighters have any special abilities. I'm checking. Nope, no special abilities. Oh, 16 or lower. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Carlin. Yeah, I've got no special abilities because, you know, I'm a fighter. Combat chart. You know how to roll when your character wants to hit a monster. This is called a hit roll. You will always use a 20-sided die for hit rolls. You will not need to use this combat chart until you play in a group game. When you read a one-player adventure, the hit roll you need will be given. This will include your strength adjustment as well as the monster's armor class. In group games, you will use a slightly different procedure using this chart. In the D&D combat system, every creature has an armor class, whether it is wearing armor or not. If your roll, including the strength adjustment, is a number high enough to match or beat the number listed under the target's armor class, you will hit the target and can then roll damage. This will be explained in more detail later. What is my THAC0? Wait, I realize that we don't need it for the adventure, but I want it, right? Because we're doing it. Let's see. Where's my combat chart? Hello, combat chart. Character classes. Fighter. Magic user. Thief. Encumbered movement. Complete list. Humans. I'm looking for... my THAC0. Combat. What page are you... Oh, here we go. Oh, actually, that's just there. It's just right there. So THAC0 is to hit AC 0. And it looks like your basic to hit AC 0 is a 19. And then 18, 17, 16, 15, right? So to hit an AC 9, you just need a 10. It's not a taco. So you would basically what you do is you just calculate this. And yeah, AC is your armor class. Actually, this is interesting. Because I have a question. But let me look. Right. So this is everybody. It looks like this is everybody's THAC0. You are just going to adjust it based on your strength, I suppose. Yes. I'm not seeing any exciting adjustments there. Well, that's it. That's it. But of course, I'm going to note that we get our bonus. Yeah, that's right. For the number for AC reverse, how they do it now. Exactly. So the lower your AC, the better, right? So I have an AC of 4, which means you need a 15 to hit me. Base. Okay, so we have our combat chart. And now we're done with all the hardest parts, but there are a few more things to come. Be very careful when you get to the money and experience part. I can't remember if Basic had the group of 6 20s. We had an A&D that messed with the THAC0. I don't think so. So we have magic items. Whenever we find a magic item, we write it down here. This includes magic potions we found in the first adventure. So we're going to write down, where is it? Magic items. We have a potion of healing because I feel like we're going to need one. Since you probably missed the saving throw, right? Yeah, we'll say potion of healing. That's great. Normal items. This is where you list the equipment that your character has. Copy the following list into the box and look it over so you know what you're carrying. For now, don't worry about how much the items cost or where they came from. You have a dagger and other normal equipment, again, even though Bargle stole some. We'll assume that you kept spare equipment at home, but the list here is all that remains. The lower your AC, the better. Well, you know, the thing is, I have to say, it makes sense if you started with it, right? Like, Sea Spider, if you start with this, it makes sense because 20 is the hardest, is like, if you have to hit a 20, that's really hard, right? So your AC basically subtracts, the AC subtracts from the number you have to hit. So if you have an AC of always basically -1, right? So if you have an AC of 0, which makes you the hardest to hit, you subtract a 1 from a 20, which is a 19. If you have an AC of 9, which means you have no armor at all, you subtract 10, which means you have to roll a 10, right? So basically, it makes sense. The lower your AC is the number that's subtracted from the target number. So the higher the AC, the lower the target number. Like, it makes sense. It makes sense. Let's go and put in flask of oil. Y'all, I'm kind of excited for this. Flasks of oil. And we have 2. And a tinderbox. What is, the oil was what, 6 hours? Is that right? It's like yeah, 0 used to be the hardest. Negative numbers didn't come until later. Yeah, it was 6 hours for a flask of oil, 1 hour for a torch, I think. See, when you need a degree to calculate when you need to hit, it's not good. But you don't need a degree. Look, I was 11 years old when I figured it out. I'm just saying that if 11-year-olds could work it out, we could work it out. Rope, 50 feet of... You know, I feel like it's what I think is super interesting is that we talk all the time about how difficult these things are, but like, I was an 11-year-old and not a math and a theater kid rather than a math kid, and like, I could do these things. I was like building maps and castles. I look forward to Troopers Hoarding tendencies coming against his equipment list. At least Brigitte is strong. Hey, I was almost like I tend to avoid getting encumbered in RPGs that are tabletop because they screw you up bad. Let's see, leather backpack. I actually think that one of the problems, it's not a problem. I think that people basically have just become normalized to the other system, so they don't think about it. Do you know what I mean? They're just like, oh, it's just like people are like, I know people, even understanding that lower numbers are better is pretty simple. Yeah, it was simple enough math. Now, once you start to specialize, how does a halberd fare against plate armor as opposed versus chain? Yeah. But D&D didn't use standard rations, water skin. It says, by the way, if you don't know what a water skin is, it says it's a leather canteen. It lets you know right there in parentheses. Water. Oops. What? Capital W. Water skin. And then we have a lantern. Oops. Lantern. We have 2 torches. Deca wasn't hard, it was just unnecessarily backwards. The thing is, Sea Spider, it wasn't unnecessarily backwards because there wasn't anything else, right? Like, if that was the norm, right? Like, it was, I didn't think, oh, wow, that's backwards from how it should be, because that was how it was. You would only think of it as being backwards if you started with a different system first. And once they flipped it and they made armor class high being good, that was weird. Like, it took me a while to adjust because that was backwards, if that makes any sense, right? Like, since I had grown up with the idea that high armor classes were bad, and my poor magic user always in the 9, always having low armor classes, having high armor classes being good was backwards for me, right? So then we have 1 large sack. Gosh, by the way, this equipment list is very familiar to me. I remember this equipment list, and I just want you to know it. Suit of chainmail armor. Mail armor. Yeah, there was a while I was still thinking, 25 AC? What the F? You sick goblin, a sick goblin could hit you. Yeah. I remember that. Like, it was just a, and what's interesting, where yeah, this is what I want to know. I want to know where the 10-foot pole is. I will also note, and this is something I think is interesting, the way that they did it in this version back when. One positive thing I think about it is that it avoids difficulty creep, in that you could always just, there's a habit. It's one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of roll high systems. I mean, it's fine. I play them. It's okay. But the problem with roll high systems with target numbers, you have to roll high, is that you just get this target number creep where your target numbers just get higher and higher and higher and higher. And this, you basically, there's a bound, like there's a limit. Anyway, I have 2 small sacks, a large sack, a suit of chainmail armor, a shield, a dagger, and a sword. And by the way, there's a way to help you remember who your character has met. And this is other notes. You should write down, I'm going to write this down because it says, caves near town, met Bargle, chaotic magic user. And I'm going to also write down, must get revenge for Alina. Just going to write that down, you know, because I just feel like that should probably be in there. That's all. Just going to put it down there. Roll high only worked in fantasy, otherwise low is a better system. Money and treasure. You found many gold and silver pieces when you killed the giant snake, and a few copper pieces when you killed the goblin. You brought home a little of each, though Bargle stole most of it. This is where you make a note of the treasure you have, adding to the list for any more treasure you find. We use abbreviations for the types of coins, listed in order, starting with the most valuable. Platinum pieces, gold pieces, electrum, silver, and copper. I don't think 5e has electrum anymore, right? I think they've gotten rid of electrum. Yes, I believe that's true. These abbreviations are often used, so you should get to know them well. To write down the treasure you found, copy this into the money box on your character sheet. I have 7 platinum pieces. We will avenge our death. It's still a, yeah. 7 platinum pieces, which is great. We have 50 gold pieces. We have 20 electrum pieces. We have 40 silver pieces. I really feel like I should not take this with me to a dungeon, but whatever. And then we have 100 copper pieces. We also have, that's a lot of weight. Still a thing, sadly. I think they got rid of it in 3rd because there was very little spoken on it. Yeah, I think they did too. And I believe I also have 1 gem, one, oops, I dropped a die, I think. I dropped my D20. Can't lose my D20. I have 1 unspecified gem. I don't know what kind of gem it is. 1 gem worth 100 gold pieces. You know, okay. Yes. Oh, 5e PHB lists electrum as 1/2 a gold piece. Oh, really? It was, yes. Was it a pearl? We're gonna just say a pearl. It has more flavor for us. To find the total value, you need to know more about the D&D money system. It's fine. Coppers are pennies, silver is dimes, gold is dollars, electrums are like $half. But platinum's expensive. A platinum piece is like a $5 bill. Okay, copper pieces are pennies. Silver pieces are dimes. Gold pieces are dollars. Electrum pieces are $half. Huh. Huh. Okay, well. Yeah. Yeah. So 5 gold pieces is 1 platinum piece. Hey, all of my D&D friends, haven't they changed the exchange rate? Isn't it like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 now? Like 10 copper pieces equals 1 silver, 10 silver pieces equals 1 gold, 10 gold equals 1 platinum. Isn't that what the exchange rate is now? No? Yes? No? Yes? Somebody. Yeah, right? Isn't it like 10 all along the track? But electrum is still 5. Yeah, it's all decimal except for electrum. Interesting, because yeah, no, at this point it was 100 silver pieces is a gold, 10 silver pieces is a gold, 2 electrum pieces is a gold, right? It's dimes, pennies, dimes, $half, and a $5 bill. Interesting. So we're gonna just add this. Now we have to look at experience before we start our adventure, which I'm excited about. Experience in the game. By the way, I was thinking about this. You know, in 3 and 3.5, it was 100 gold pieces was 1 platinum. Oh, that's a lot. Oh gosh, Krellin. Wow. Yeah, 100. Yeah. Yeah, it was still 10. I will say, I remember something I think is really interesting about old D&D. There was no assumption that all the characters would be the same level. Nowadays, everybody does, a lot of people like to do milestones, so everybody levels up at the same time, so everybody's the same level. But there was no assumption that everyone was the same level, because A, there were monsters that would drain levels, and people did not all level up at the exact same rate. And if you died, you would start your character back at level 1. You could get a couple extra bonus levels if you had played before, right? But if you were a level 1 character traveling with level 5 characters, you'd level up faster, so you'd catch up to them. Yeah, quickly. So it's interesting because there just wasn't an assumption that that everybody was the same level back in the day. I have these very deep thoughts, by the way, that I cannot share with you yet because they will distract me, but it's about D&D and GMing D&D, but not the way you think. Anyway, so experience. In the game, your character will become more powerful each time you complete an adventure. This way of measuring this power has another number. It's called experience points, which abbreviates to XP. When your character started, you had no experience points, obviously. But in your first adventure, you killed a giant snake and a goblin, and you found some treasure. You get experience points for each of these things. I would like to... in fourth, the PP became 100. Oh, interesting. I want to point out something, by the way. There are people who are like OSR folks who are like, you know, back in the day, there wasn't a lot of combat in D&D. You know, it was all about exploration. It wasn't about combat at all. Not like today, because back then we just didn't have combat. And you know this is true because you would get XP for gold pieces. And I was like, who are you? First off, I do not think you were even playing back in the day because it was all about treasure. And yes, you got experience points for gold pieces, but you got gold pieces by killing people. Come on. Anyway, I just want to say that. I just want to say that. Like that, you just didn't get treasure without killing people unless maybe you were a thief. I'm just gonna say it. Anyway, so for the treasure you found, you get 200 experience points, 1 experience point per gold piece. For killing the monsters, you get 30 more. That adds up to 230 XP, but it's not your total. What? Here's what I'm talking about. It was treasure and killing and treasure in that order. Absolutely. So here's a thing that if you've not played old school D&D, you would not know this, but this is a thing to note. They don't have this anymore, but it was very much a thing back then. You also get a bonus because you are a fighter and you have an above average strength score. This bonus is 10% of your XP. Since you earn 230 XP, you get a 23 XP bonus for a total of 253 XP. In the experience box, at the bottom of the page, write 253. I think my experience is probably up here. I have 253. And I have a 10% bonus. So, yeah, so this is the old school right here, right? Is it a bad sign that I can still remember the page number in the DMG for the AD&D Monster XP calculation table? No, it's not bad because RQ Stefan is just pointing up a thing I need to point out. Here's the thing. If you don't know this, if you've ever looked at adventures for old school adventures for like first edition, this era, they often would not tell you what the experience points were for the monsters because you had to calculate that yourself. There was like a table. You get certain amount of XP per hit dice of the creature. If they have special bonuses, you'd give them like, you know, poison or whatever special attacks, you give them the bonus. And then you would do a calculation based on the total number of hit dice versus the total number of levels of the players. So if you have a bunch of really low level, like let's say a goblin's worth 10, but you're really high level, then it's like divided, so you don't get as much XP for it. So you basically had to basically calculate all the XP yourself. But also another thing that was really interesting about old school D&D. Creatures did not have fixed hit points. They had hit dice, so you would roll. So each goblin might have a different number of hit points based on how well you rolled. Like some goblins might be super weak, some might be much stronger. There was just a lot of you know, that kind of stuff. There were no CR ratings in old school D&D. So third edition, 10, 10, 10, 10, but no Electrum. Yeah. Colonel, that's probably how I got it confused, because fourth... Oh, actually, I'm playing in a fourth campaign right now, very intermittently, offline, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Yeah. So there was no CR rating in first edition D&D. They didn't have they just didn't have a CR rating. I had a mage who would split his magic missiles just to get more XP to help kill more monsters, yeah. The second edition is the same exchange rate as basic. Yeah, what's really interesting about... yeah, right, Valtiel notes, CR is probably not as necessary as they expect you to flee a lot more. Yes, also, screw balance, danger and death were always a possibility. But also, like, there was like a thing, right? Let's say there's a dungeon that had 9 levels. You could assume that you would probably have a lot of 1-hit dice monsters in the first level, a lot of 2-hit dice monsters in the second, 3-hit dice monsters on the third, etc., etc. And if you were first level characters and you cleared out that first level of the dungeon and you did not get to level 2, you might want to think twice about going down to that second level. You could if you wanted to. That's entirely possible, but it might not be a good idea. I mean, you might do a little bit, but if you're a first level character and look, I'm just gonna say, these, unless your GM or the module writer was a sadist, yeah. So what's really interesting is that sometimes you could find a secret door that would take you from the first level of dungeon down to the 9th level of the dungeon. If you were a first level character and a party, and you took that secret door passageway down to the 9th level of the dungeon, that was a bad idea because everything there would be way too strong for you. You would die. I mean, you might be able to like do a little sneaky sneak, but like, no, but here's the thing. It's first level. It's first level. It's basic in AD&D first edition. No one can sneak but the rogue. The fighter, sorry, the thief. The thief is the only one who can sneak. So no one else is sneaking. So it's just a bad idea. Don't do it. So there was like a way in which there weren't challenge ratings. It's just that there were multipliers based on like hit dice. And also players had to maybe make some choices about whether or not they wanted to go and fight a dragon if they were first level. I would recommend not. I ran first, I ran second, I ran third. Ran some Tomb of Horrors in a first ed a few years ago. Great fun. 2 survivors, both ended up naked. Just saying. So, in D&D, RQ Stefan was right about D&D. Which one? AD&D. Which one? What did you say? In the party I was in, you only got XP credit if you got a hit on the enemies. My cleric with the dex. So here's the thing, Hawkeye, your GM was doing it wrong. Your GM was incorrect because I just happened to be re-looking at the AD&D first edition rules on this one. Why? Do not ask me. As long as you participate in the combat, you get XP, which means if you're a cleric and you heal someone, you have participated in the combat and you get XP. But if you do not participate in any way in the combat, then you don't get XP for that combat. So that's how it's supposed to be. I had a GM who only let you have the XP if you got the killing blow on a creature, which was like ridiculous and not what the rules say and was really bad for people who are not fighters. But yeah, as long as you participate in the combat, then you get the XP. Yeah, so if you get the healing spells, then you're good. So generally speaking, if your prime requisite skill, which by the way for the fighter is strength, if your prerequisite stat is above if it's above average, if it's like 14, 15, 16, I suppose it is 17. Sea Spider's like, well, if you're a dick GM, you might not interpret participate in combat as healing. You might not, but the book explicitly says that healing counts. I'm just going to note, because I happen to be rereading the first edition DMG for reasons that I probably shouldn't talk about, but it explicitly says healing does count. Yes, right, so I'm just going to note it. Hence why he moved over, this is Hawkeye, hence why he moved over to Gamma World Star Trek. Yeah, absolutely understand that. Only the killing blow be more like the Bushido rule set stuff. Yeah, it was pretty awful. So if I look at this, it says, right, so if you have interesting. So if you have, if your prime requisite, which is for a fighter or a dwarf, is strength, is 13 through 15, you get a plus 5% to your XP. If your prime requisite ability score is 16 through 18, you get a plus 10% in basic. And if your prime requisite score is lower, you get a penalty, right? You get an XP penalty. So it's just important to note that you might not all be getting the same XP for the same encounter. So it says here, did you notice that you get a lot of experience for treasure and not much for killing monsters? It's better to avoid killing if you can by tricking monsters or using magic to calm them down. You can sometimes avoid the risks of combat, but you will have to fight many monsters to get their treasures. Remember your level at the top of the front of the sheet? That relates to XP. In the following way, if you gain enough experience points, your level goes up. When your level goes up, you become more powerful. Each time this happens, you will get more hit points. Sometimes, but not every time, when your level goes up, your character will be able to make saving throws a little easier and hit things a little more often. So, the more levels you gain, the longer you can survive and the more treasures you can collect. On the top line, at the bottom of the experience box, write the number 2000. This is your goal. I thought it would be 100, but all right, fine. I thought it would be 1,000. When you finally have this many XP, adding up your points from each and every adventure, your character will no longer be level 1, you'll move up in power to level 2. This doesn't mean that you'll lose any XP, you'll just keep adding more as you get them. You'll probably work your way up to level 3, 4, 5, and so forth, becoming more powerful each time. And human characters can go all up to 36th level, though this should take hundreds of games. For low level, your goal doubles for each level. 4,000 for XP for level 3rd, 8,000 for 4th, and so forth. I don't think these were the numbers in AD&D though. I feel like those were not the numbers. Somebody, Krellin, you have the AD&D Player's Handbook out, right? What is the? I felt like the first level was 1,000. Will you check for me? Now, you should know how to use each part of your character sheet. If you didn't understand something, stop, go back and read the details again. You will have a character sheet for each character you play. It will have all the details you need to play properly. Yeah, they varied by class, that is correct, yes. Did you know first it was meant to be played with numerous groups, and any time that passed in real life was meant to be part of the game? Oh. About 750 to 2,000 depending on class, if I recall. That's right, yeah, each class was different, and I remember, like, it would depend. So I'd like to just point out right here, in case you want to know, that dice, this explains what the dice are. Please note, it says right here, dice. This is a very important section. Be sure to read it carefully. I'm not going to do that because I know how to roll the dice, but I do feel like I should note that this game explains to you what the dice are with pictures. That's a 4-sided die, a 6-sided die, 8-sided die, 20-sided die, right? They are very clear about wanting you to make sure you know what they are, how to roll a percentile die. They give you examples, right? I probably should have typed 1250 to, oh yeah, 2000. And I really just sort of want to share with you that for those of you who are not here at the time, people had never seen these dice before, right? People had never seen a D4 or a D12, and they didn't know how to, like, people didn't know how to read them, right? And so they explain exactly how to read them, and what 4d6 means, or 4d8. You might still get like 4d8 in like how to explain that, but right, they explain it. So now, if you've read everything so far, you are ready for your next adventure. To start, just turn the page. I feel like I don't need to explain how the dice work, but I feel like we should give our final solo adventure a go. Oh no, and you couldn't Google it. There is no Googling how to do this either. Who was manufacturing those dice back then? That's a good question. I think they must have been doing it themselves, right? They must have been. Because the thing is, you had the wax crayon. Like they didn't come with the numbers filled in. So it was like right? And then, oh, nice. Chessex. Chessex was definitely doing dice. I don't think Chessex manufactured the dice that came in the box, because they just gave you a set. Which, by the way, they gave you a set because, you know, you probably could not buy them. You had to go to a specialty store. Like, if you wanted to buy D&D dice, is what we called them, you had to actually go to a specialty store, like a hobby store. You couldn't get them in most places. And there was no internet. So like you'd have to go, like ours was called Game Masters, was the hobby store. There were like, we had two different hobby stores. One was like the hobby store that had all the model trains and the balsa wood airplanes and all the terrain for the model trains and all the books about Napoleonic Wars and all the Jane's Guides to Tanks, right? We had all of that. That was the one hobby store. They didn't actually have any D&D stuff, but then we had the hobby store that had all of the D&D stuff. Yeah. Okay, so in the following one-player adventure, you will explore a dungeon looking for monsters and treasures. Part 1 is a shopping trip in town. In Part 2, you will learn more about battles. In Part 3, you will visit the dungeon. You will often be given choices and asked to pick one. Each choice gives a number. Turn to that number to find the results of your choice. Your adventure will continue from there. Yes, let me see what we have here. Either a hobby shop or a toy store that was lucky enough to stock them. Yeah. We lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina. The Hobbit hobby shop catered to RPGs and modeling for the GIs at Fort Bragg. Yeah. I mean, I remember all the old school hobby stores, which were just a lot of balsa wood planes, by the way. The first time I got my hands on gem dice, oh yeah, because they were all, the old school hobby stores also had model airplanes and remote controlled cars and remote controlled airplanes, right? I feel like the old school hobby stores had like all the stuff to make like some of them did some of them did have remote controlled, like radio controlled cars. Some of them didn't. Sometimes you have to go to Radio Shack if you want, like sometimes it would be only Radio Shack if you wanted the radio controlled cars or planes. But you know, a lot of like, ooh, ships and bottles, right? Hey, I have a question. This is one of the original Choose Your Own Adventure. It is. I have a question, everybody. So you know the old school hobby store, which had all the model planes and the ships and bottles and balsa wood like model trains, like that. You know, the old school hobby shop. Do those still exist? Like, if I wanted to build a ship in a bottle, like, where would I go? Because I will tell you what, when I go to gaming stores, I never see any ships and bottles. I never see any yeah, I don't see any of that stuff. Like none of my game stores don't have any of that kind of stuff. They have you know, they have board games, right? They have board games and that kind of stuff, but online, yeah, mostly RC planes. Wildtail says, yeah, local hobby stores focus on model train building. Oh, that's nice. You have several in Louisville. That's very cool. I've seen them in Portland the last time, but I was there, but no games. Well, nice. So at least there's still some, right? That's cool to hear. That's cool to hear that we still have some of these things, because I imagine that would be like I imagine this would be pretty old, right? Town business, part 1. You spend a few days in town, letting your wounds heal. Since you found so much treasure on your first adventure, you go shopping for some better armor. Armorer Baldwick knows you well. He's a jolly fellow, getting a bit gray. You remember snitching apples from the big tree in his yard when you were young and foolish. Oh, hey, Willen. Thank you for that gift sub. I see all this, by the way. I'm paying attention. That's cool, because we had, like, those old school hobby shops. There was, like, one in, LA, I remember. We had a couple in, San Francisco, the Bay Area. Yeah, I imagine a lot of people don't open up those stores new and fresh, though, right? I imagine. Oh, neat. Let's see. Whoa, he booms as you enter the shop. How have you been these days? All grown up now, I see. You chat for a few minutes about your younger days, and then you ask if he has any armor that would fit you. I know, I like the little touch about the apples. That's really good. Why, surely. Let me see. He pushes his way through the racks of armor of all kinds as you follow closely behind. There are dozens of sets of armor for people of all sizes, but most of them need repair. Aha! He exclaims, pulling an armload of metal down. Try this on. Our local hobby store still exists too. Who knew? That's so interesting. I'm really, because look, I'm going to tell you what. There are things I remember as being like super old school hobbies. One, like, we had these neighbors who were like, had lived through the '06 earthquake. So they were super old. The Rosenfeld sisters. And they used to do decoupage. They would decoupage tables, like super old school decoupage. And I remember looking at the decoupage boxes and I thought that was pretty cool. So like, I feel like decoupage and like ships and bottles seem like super old school hobbies that I feel like I should do at least once in my life. Those are my thoughts. I'm also going to point out that I feel like a lot of this like plate armor would be done on commission, but whatever. I'm just saying I feel like we would not be being able to pick up some ready to wear plate mail. Max says, in Greensboro, there was Cosmic Castle. She used to buy game books for a quarter the price and sell them for half price. Got so much Ravenloft stuff and old travel books that, oh, nice. Yeah, I love those, you know, those game shops that when you walk in, they're not unfriendly in the sense of like creepy, like people who are not happy to see strangers, but it was a place that like, there's no, Arrow Hobbies was like that. There's no organizational system, just racks and racks of books and things, and many of them are like from 1970. You don't know where they came from, and the owner doesn't really know where everything is, but they've just been there for the last 80 years. But you can find the coolest stuff there. Yes, yeah. I use Mod Podge to make the DM screens. Nice, nice. So, plate mail, of course. Just finished it a week or two ago. Want to try it on? I think it'll fit. You go to a back room and remove your chainmail and try this heavier armor on for size. Sure enough, it fits. Almost as if it were made just for you. The metal plates hang from leather straps and chainmail links, forming a tough protective suit, but it's very heavy. Almost twice as heavy as your chainmail. You come out to show him, and he walks around you, carrying a piece of charcoal and making the armor and marking the armor here and there for some necessary adjustments. Good. Hey, adjustments? Yes, right? Yes. I don't know if, let's see. I will admit to A, having a stamp collection, nice, and B, flying RC planes, very nice, and C, owning a large HO model railway layout, nice, and D, all the above, yes. HQ, I approve, very much. And Max, I don't know if it's owned by the same woman. Lou Zucchi's warehouse was like that, says Chromatic Notes, right? Max, like, she was kind of creepy, but nice. Nephilim says, I just looked up some stuff. A1H Bernstein patented a 20-sided die in 1925. Nice. Rest says, be right back. I'm going to grab dinner. I don't see Trooper wrapping anytime soon. Got some time, right? Let's see. I like that we're getting some adjustments on our armor. Looks good, he exclaims. Just a bit here, a bit there. Want to trade in that chainmail you had on? I look to be in pretty good shape. Wait a minute, I reply. Don't you have anything lighter than this stuff? I'm not going to be able to carry as much treasure if I wear all this metal. Ha ha! Well, he says soothingly, if you want better protection, you have to use this, unless, of course, you can somehow find a magical armor. Plate mail will improve your armor class to an AC2, better than your current AC4, so it would be nice to have. Well, how much, you ask? Well, 75 gold pieces as is. Want to trade in that chainmail? He repeats. Oh, I guess so, you reply. How much? Well, for you. Well, since you're trying to get started, and since I've known you so long, since you were just so tall, 50 gold pieces with your trade-in. You talk with him a bit more, using your charisma, and bargain him down to a better price. Okay, he says finally. Just 30 gold pieces with the trade-in, and you promise to come here first the next time you need better armor or more weapons, agreed? Agreed. He stomps off, grumbling, then stops and turns. You can pick it up Tuesday. Pay the clerk on your way out. I am excited about this, by the way. Tried to look at a map of Greensboro and can't recognize anything. It's been 20 or more years. Yeah. Oh, Platonic Solid. Oh, nice. Nice. So here's the thing. I would like to say that I really appreciate this shopping scene for specifically the ways in which, I mean, how many times do you see people being like, oh, I walk in and I buy plate armor and then I walk back out with it. But it's going to have to be adjusted, right? Like, I like the fact that you go in, you're going to pay a lot of money for that, a lot of gold pieces, because 30 gold pieces in first edition basic is a lot. And right, and that it has to be marked up, it has to be adjusted. I really, really like that detail. I like that a lot. I'm going to just note that. So let's subtract some of our gold pieces. So we only have 20 now, which is sad, but that's life. That's life. Okay. Subtract 30 gold pieces of coin from your money on the character sheet. You can either subtract it from your GP or use some coins of lesser value if you understand the conversion table. Well, that may not be bad. Let me put 10. Let me take 10 from the EP. Like take 20. So that's wait, hold on. I had 50, right? I had 50. 20 EP is 10 gold pieces. So let's get rid of all of our Electrum. We'll be carrying less. So that's 10. So we need to take another 20. You know what? Here's the thing. I feel like we should probably have some lower denominations for like shopping. So let's just yeah, let's just do that. We're just gonna do that. We're good. We're good. Yeah. Okay. 3,000. That makes a lot of sense to me, Krellin. $3,000. Yeah. That character interaction is something that Basic did pretty well. Less system, more story. Well, but the thing is, the system's all in there. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think that system and story are necessarily opposed. It's just that I think it's not about. I think the deal for me is not about story, but it's about convenience, right? That I think there are a lot of players who they'll like story it up all day long, but they don't want to wait 3 days to get their armor, right? And if you think about it, in some ways that you can think of that as actually being system, that you actually have to wait for the armor to be completed, right? But there are a lot of people who just don't want, they want it now. Like, that's it. It's like they don't want to wait. That's what it is. So I did it. And then change the numbers on your sheet to account for your spending, and change your equipment list, and change my armor class. Complete. Could you, like, I think there are a lot of players who, if they walked into, they want to buy a potion, and then you say, sure, but I have to make it. It'll take 3 weeks. Would be very displeased if it would take that long to get anything, because they're used to, like, immediate gratification. And my armor class is a 2, by the way, which is awesome, which means you need a 17 to hit me, and my life is excellent. Yeah, so many people are used to the modern world where you just go out and buy a thing and have it, and that's just not how the world used to work. Yes, right? I feel like for me, it's not about story versus system. I think it's a little bit more that D&D now is much more closer to a modern experience in that you don't have to wait for things. Could that be a video game thing in those you buy it and wear it? Maybe. I actually just think it's about not wanting your medieval fantasy to feel very medieval, like wanting to feel basically like a modern world, but without guns and with horses, right? Like all of the kind of, like, I mean, think about this. Message sending, a lot of the magic basically just allows you to function as if you had a cell phone. Or there's something about D&D at the moment that feels very modern in certain ways. Going down the route from High Point College to Greensboro via Jamestown via Google Maps. Don't regret any of it. Approachability versus realism. Max was like, yeah, I never had games like that. Maybe, I don't know if it's approachability. I just feel like maybe it's a different, people want different things, right? Maybe they don't actually, a lot of D&D is not particularly very medieval-esque. A lot of fantasy games are not particularly medieval-esque in that they're not very medieval, in many, many ways. So let's see, where are we at? Okay. It's, you come back to the shop in a few days and pick up your heavy plate mail. It's not ready on Tuesday, but you have time to wait. You spend the time looking around for other adventurers. Any help would be welcome, but the few you find all just want to relax, have a good time, and heal up from their last adventures. So, fully equipped, but still alone, you set off one morning for the caves near town, remembering to watch out for the ghouls. Hey, we're going back to that cave, which is interesting because we had a dead friend there. Most D&D players want to play in Eberron and don't know they want to play in Eberron. And look, I actually love Eberron. Eberron was, I really enjoyed Eberron as a system. It was, I think I had some of my best, I dropped something, by the way. I had my best 3-5 adventures in Eberron. There it is. Mostly because we were all refugees from Seer, and so we got to play refugees, and that was really cool because we were not like the chosen ones who were special. There was some really interesting politics in there that we got to have, which I really enjoyed. That was good times. Okay, but now I'm back. All right, so part 2, battles. Uh-oh, everybody. Here we go. You are almost ready to enter the dungeon, in quotation marks. But first, you need to learn a little more about battles. You already know how to swing at a monster. You roll 1d20, a 20-sided die, and compare the result to the hit roll given in the description. If you rolled that number or higher, you hit the enemy and roll damage. More damage! So, in your first adventure, each time you hit a monster, you did 1 point of damage. However, from now on, you will roll 1d6, a 6-sided die, to see how much damage you do to the creature you are fighting. You will keep track of the damage in the same way, writing down the starting number and subtracting the damage each time you hit. Just cross off the old number of hit points and write down the new number. Carlin says, I kind of like the way Mercer does magic shops. They don't go in there and buy whatever they want. They go in there and he gives them choices of random selections of items they may or may not want. Yeah, because I imagine that, I know that's weird, but like I imagine magic shops being kind of like secondhand stores in certain ways. Like you walk in and you just see what they've got. Imagine a lot of shops in D&D. To be honest, like a pawn shop. Yes, like a pawn shop. That's what I was thinking of, right? You can buy whatever they have on hand, take it or leave it. And actually, I imagine that in a world where most things are built custom made to order, right? Because you think like we're kind of like in a medieval fantasy world, right? Medieval Renaissance fantasy world with magic. You probably have most things like no one's going to make armor on spec, right? No one's going to make really expensive armor on spec. They might make, depending on where they're at, right? Certainly not plate. That you're not making on spec. You might make leather or chainmail because those things can be easily customized to a bunch of different kinds of people. But you probably wouldn't have a lot of that. You might have some that you've made. But you would probably have, because if you think about the economy, right? Adventurers go off adventuring, they go into dungeons, they kill things, they're probably going to strip those things, whatever they meet of the armor, bring them back to an armorer. The armorer will probably buy them at cheap, and then fix them up, and then resell them. So you're probably going to get sort of basically a lot of secondhand stuff, what you'd get. But I also imagine that whether or not you could get those things would depend on where you're at. I imagine you have a number of these sort of old Western kind of towns that adventurers go through. I imagine that's a town that will have a tavern. And that would also be a town where you could probably get those materials. But I imagine most places that are not places that serve adventurers probably will not have those things. I also imagine that those shops have inflation like whoa, right? There's probably like big markups for adventurers. That's what I'm thinking. You know, if I'm running something, this is what I'm thinking, right? Krellin says, one of the reasons chainmail was so prevalent is it was one of the few armors you could make in size and not have to fit. Yeah. A medieval Renaissance world with magic. You just don't have Discworld. Actually, really, so medieval Renaissance world with magic is basically almost all fantasy worlds because they want to have rapiers. Fix them up. By that, you mean rinse them off. Yep. You can make extra large chainmail because that can be cut to size. Absolutely. Like fitted chainmail was better, but you could just grab some secondhand chainmail and be ill-fitted and be fine. Yeah. That was Krellin. Hawkeye says, I came up with a unique method for magic shop items. They would ask for things, then the shopkeeper would enter a chamber, each time coming out as a different version of the doctor. The shop was called Tardy's and had a franchise location all over my homebrew world. Nice. Oh yeah, Mercer also doesn't have magic shops all over the place. Like only the major metropolises actually have magic shops. Yeah, I could imagine maybe some small towns might having one magic shop, but that magic shop being, first off, that small town would have to be one that is near a, like, where adventurers always are, like maybe a big dungeon complex. And I imagine that shop probably also cheats you. You know what I mean? Like, I imagine there's somebody that sells like healing potions, like I can imagine an alchemist maybe, right? Somebody who's like not a full-on magic user, but maybe an alchemist or something that has a magic shop, that maybe an enchanter that has insane markup, right? Near a big old dungeon is what I imagine. Chromatic says, so far my D&D magic items have come from a collection of leftovers from mages of Baldur's Gate, of Traveling Magic Pawn Shop, and now a version of the spaceship of Barrier Peaks. Oh, cool. RQ says, this is such a great throwback and discussion, but my brain is unfortunately fading fast, so I'm going to call it before I prove myself the fool you are. Have a great run through all. Ta-ta for now. Thank you. We're going to go and like, you know, I feel like we don't have much left in this excitement, so I want to go and finish it and see what we can do. And then that means I can prep something else for a different time. Yeah, oh yeah, I don't count a potion dealer as a magic shop. Those are probably a bit more common. Yeah, maybe not that common, and probably not full of a lot of different stuff. Oh, hey, Brutal Dan, thank you for those bits. At the end, I'm gonna go and sing for it. Thank you, Brutal. How are you? Thank you. Yeah, I can imagine like, by the way, Brutal Dan is awesome. I always read his name as Brute Latin, but that is not the name. It's Brutal Dan, not Brute Latin. I'm just gonna note it, but I always want to say Brute Latin. That's just, but I know it's not that. I know it's not Brute Latin, but I just read it that way. But it's Brutal Dan. Hey, Brutal Dan, welcome in. How are you? Welcome in. We're playing, hello, Nakoma. How are you? We are at the moment playing, we're about to start the second solo adventure from the Red Box of Dungeons & Dragons Basic Set, 1983, right? The first adventures that I ever played that got me started in D&D. And we've made our character. Krellin says, technically a basic D2 4+2 healing potion isn't actually magic. It can be made by a trained healer, so those are fairly widely available. Yes, I would imagine that's right. Nakoma's doing very well. I'm actually doing very well as also. We were supposed to be playing City of Light and Shadows today, but COVID and travel has hit our players. So we're playing some D&D. And I've got a lot of thoughts, not bad thoughts, good thoughts, but like thoughts of like, ooh, you know, because D&D back then was just way more low powered. It was just a much lower powered game than it is now. People were much more fragile. And I never thought of magic as being as widespread. So it's an interesting vibe, right? And to sort of come into it and thinking about how that it could inform, you know, a D&D game now. Anyway. TC Mexman says, loving this, brings me back to my OGs. Me too, right? TC Mexman, right? Like, you're like, oh, that's right, I remember. I almost died all the time, or I just did die. And you know how it is. So we've got our new damage. We have our monsters. Monsters will also be able to do more damage. In your one-player games, you will keep track of their damage on a separate sheet of paper along with your own. In group games, the Dungeon Master keeps track of all the monster details. Some monsters do 1d6 points of damage, just as you do, but sometimes they do more or less than 1d6. Each time you encounter a monster, the information you need will be given in a box like this. Goblin, 17, D, 1d6, U, 12, HP, 4. The number after the monster's name is the roll it needs to hit your fighter. D is the dice to roll after the monster hits, to find the amount of damage it did to you. The monster's hit points are also given. In this example, if you roll a 12 or higher, you hit the goblin. You then roll a 1d6, the standard amount, and add 2 for your strength bonus. You subtract the total from the goblin's 4 HP, as given above. If the goblin's new total is 0 or less, the creature is dead. If the goblin has any hit points left, it swings at you. If you roll a 17 or higher for the goblin's attack, he hits you for 1 to 6 points of damage, as noted in the box above. You roll the 6-sided die and subtract the results from your 8 hit points, which feels nervous-making, because, again, 8 hit points. Whew. Brute Latin sounds like a medication for, like, allergies or something? Maybe, yeah, Brute Latin. This is cool. I've never heard of this. I'm actually working out, but very interesting. Oh, if you're working out, I just took a really long bike ride the other day, and I'm going to get back to lifting weights next week, because next week I'm going to try to get on my regular schedule, but I'm very excited. So good. Bargle. I'm excited. Look, I'm going to just tell you something about this. I have this nervousness because I have 8 hit points, and monsters do like 1 to 6. I'll be hard to hit, but like if they do 6 hit points to me, boom, I go from 8 to 2. And then I could be dead real fast. Bargle. Just noting, old school D&D, very, very deadly. Very deadly. Very deadly. Very deadly. So much stress. TC Mexman knows. So much stress. So much stress. Just be a magic user and have 3 hit points. think about that stress. Combat checklist. A step-by-step list of everything you need to do when fighting a monster is given on the same page as the monster description, the box information. Use this checklist for every battle to be sure you're running each one correctly. Record keeping. Use a piece of scrap paper to keep track of the battles. Whenever you find some treasure, write down the amount and type on the same paper. Experience points will be given at the end of the adventure, but you will need a list of creatures your fighter conquers. All the points for treasure and experience will be added up at the end of the adventure. Okay. Getting killed. If your character is slain by the monster, that is the end of the adventure. This may not take long, by the way. You can start the fighter over again, pretending that it's a new character. Side note, can you do such an explanation session for The Witcher TTRPG 2? And good afternoon. Hello, Max CJP. Actually, probably could. I will tell you, I actually really enjoy like a really good detailed explanation. I find that really useful and interesting. And I feel like there should be more of them. I was just thinking about, side note, really quick aside. I quite enjoy GMing Fate. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't get Fate, I don't understand how to do it. And I think because Fate is actually not difficult, but I think the main stumbling block for Fate is that it doesn't actually have really good examples like this. I think it should do like a full-on old school example with solo adventure. I feel like that would be, oh, I need to write that down. Hey everybody, I need to write this down. When I write my City of Light and Shadow book, I'm going to do a solo adventure, old school. I'm going to write this down right now. To put this, put old school solo adventure in City of Light in Kolos book. I'm going to do that, by the way, because I feel like it's just really useful. That's what I'm going to do. The Witcher TTRPG didn't do this like the Red Box did. Trooper didn't design this. Yeah. Your professor shows when you enjoy the stuff you're talking about. Yeah, all TTRPGs should have a Red Box. Because the thing is, I think a lot of people just assume, again, I'm not going to get sidetracked, but a lot of people will say, oh, like rules light games are so easy because they don't have so many rules. But actually, I find if you've never played an RPG before, rules light games can be very difficult because they don't tell you what to do. They don't actually give you the guidance. D&D is very clear about what you need to do when, right? It's very, very clear. So in some ways, even though there are more rules, it can be easier for new people because it's all just listed down. Whereas things that are very, very fluid sometimes can be more difficult. I'm just going to note it. So let's see. By the way, this note here, you can just start the fight over again, pretending that it's a new character. That was so old school, right? Your characters die, you just like erase the names, put new names on, and then just go again because people died a lot. Even like video games have tutorial levels, it's true. If you play this adventure a second time, do not keep any treasure you found before you got killed. You should start the character over again from the beginning. Remember that you are carrying a magical potion of healing. If you get hurt, you can drink it and it will cure all your damage. You can then change your hit points back to 8. You can only drink it once, and then it's gone. You may drink the potion whenever you wish, but you should wait until you have only 2 or 3 hit points left, if possible. If you drink it in the middle of a battle, you must skip your attack. You are drinking, not swinging, and roll only for the monster's attack for that round of combat. Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around Cortex Prime. Mini dice, not quite Fate mechanics. Oh, Cortex, yeah, Cortex is Buffy, right? Cortex is Buffy, Angel. Yeah. OG D&D is the original Dark Souls. It is actually, yes. That is true, Sea Spider. The special potion. When do you use it? I know, right? Am I going to hoard it? Why not? No, yeah, no bonus action, Hawkeye. I tell you, like, Firefly as well. Yes, I'm just telling you. Also, Witchcraft? Was that also Cortex? I think. I'm just telling you, you had a lot less you could do back then. Anyway, things to remember. 1. Keep a record of the monsters killed and treasure found, using a separate piece of paper. 2. Use the combat checklist whenever you have a battle. 3. Roll 1d6 each time you hit to find the amount of damage done. 4. Drink your potion when you are badly hurt. These are our notes. I'm going to write down beautiful sword. Beautiful sword. Beautiful sword. No magic bonus. Toe bonus to hit. Damage die d6. Okay, so this is my beautiful sword. I'm ready. You did not know that Cortex was originally designed by Larry Elmore. Oh, that's interesting. Rissa says, Mark Twain to take a stab at writing Horror of the Orient Express, but using Cortex instead of COC. Interesting. Interesting. I wonder why Cortex and not Trail of Cthulhu, which is Gumshoe. Just wondering. Okay, last bit before we start the end of this. Mapping. This time, you will make a map of the dungeon so you don't get lost. Maps also help in remembering where the worst monsters were, like the ghouls, so you can avoid them until you feel ready for them. You will draw your map on a piece of graph paper, which we have. Each line, 1 square long, will equal 10 feet in the dungeon. Copy each map carefully. Draw an arrow pointing to the top of the paper and label it north. Then draw a line across this arrow, label east, south, and west. This will help you remember the directions. As you draw your map, be sure to write notes on it to help remind you where things are. If you don't make a map as you go, you will die! No, you will probably get confused. So everyone, I feel as if we now are going to have to do this old school. Map everything. The whole thing. Also, I feel like that could be better. That could be better, don't you think? Let me fix this. I'm going to fix this because I feel like this could be better. Let's do... This is our roll box. And I want to adjust that because I don't like it. I'm just going to change this, by the way. You will die. Is this my beautiful sword? Is this my beautiful armor? Fightus, Hawkeye? I see you. I see your reference. I see your reference. So much graph paper wasted. Oh my gosh. Oh, not a fan of Trail. Pretty sure it's the modular nature of Cortex he was attracted to. Ah, nice. Okay, here we go. Yeah, well, no, I don't... Here's the thing, Krellin, I don't think we're going to last that long, is what I'm going to try to tell you. I have a feeling that this will not last that long. But we, my friends, are going to do it. Let's do this. Let's draw a line, and let's make this. Let's have this be. Let's do this in black, right? Okay. Everybody, here's our. Oop. That's not how I wanted to do that. Let's. Here we go. It's a line, and hey, line. This is our line, and we should draw another line. Oh man. I don't know about you, but I'm a little worried. Control Z. Okay, well, here we go. And, oh, I don't want to snap it to grid. That's the thing. That's my problem, by the way. It's snapping to grid and I don't want it to. Hold on. Let me see. Let's not snap to grid. Line. Hold shift to snap to grid. I don't want to do that. Control to unZ to undo last point. Right click or escape to complete. Oh, all right. Here we go. All right. Here, and then here, and then oops, that's not what I wanted. Here we go. And then that probably should be longer. It's fine. This looks terrible. I just made a terrible line. I'm so sorry. My mapping is going to be really bad. No, we're going to do good mapping. It's going to be really great. Here we go. There's a line, and here's another line. I don't know, y'all. Let's hope this goes well. And it's green, and I didn't want it to be, but okay. And we just need a text. We're not going to write. They told us to write everything down, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to write a big old N for north. That's it. That's all we need. Okay. This is it. This is us. Oh, Mac. Have a good time, Mac. Maxi JP. Okay. Yes. No. I don't think we're going to take this long. We might just die. We are very, very, what's the word? Fragile. And I just kind of don't think, I think we're going to die, is my concern about all this. And, I'm not taking bets on not dying. So, I would just like to move. Hey, I just, stop that. Okay. I do not want to snap this to grid. Well, you know what? That is going to be our life. No! Okay. Here we go. I'm worried. Part 3. Into the caves. Since you explored some of the caves earlier, you find yet another entrance to venture into this time. Why? After finding a suitable cave, you pause to be sure you are ready. The caves are dark and dreary. You know, here's the thing. I would pause now, and ooh. Here's the thing, y'all. If we pause now, we'll have to find another time to do it. Which could be... We could finish this, after the episode of the Saints. So next Friday, not next Friday, so in 3 Fridays. We could finish it in 3 Fridays. We could, and do the whole thing. And then I could also prep a surprise. Yes. I think we should do that. And then I can make this really pretty. I can make it like gorgeous and all of that. So yeah, let's do that. So here's what we're going to do, everybody. It's 11. We did our, well, but on the other hand, we started at 8. No. We started an hour late. Prac supports us, though. Okay. We're going to do it that's what we're going to do. We're going to stop. We're going to stop right now. And when we start, we're going to, so next week is going to be, on Fridays. Next Friday is going to be the last episode of, the last duo episode with the gang for City of Light and Shadow, which will be Regina and Frida. And then the week after, I just have to remind the players, we should be doing the Saints. So a group episode of City of Light and Shadow with all of the players from the alternate team. And then I feel like what we do the Friday after that is we come back here and we play this solo adventure. And we find out what happens. We find out what happens to our person coming into the cave. And I also have an idea about a thing that we could do if we finish this in 15 minutes because we die really quickly. So I have another idea, which would be playing. I'm gonna set up and get ready for the first solo adventure you play in GURPS, which is a night. It's called oh my gosh, it's called, oh, what's it called? It's called a night's work. All in a night's work. It's the solo adventure that you first play in GURPS 3rd edition, but I think there might be a 4th edition version of it. So we're gonna go and do that as well. We might not do it in 2 weeks if this takes us the full session, but we might. And I've got a couple of other ones ready for us on the you know, the thing. Yes, Krellin asks, is this the one where you play as Di Blackthorn? Yes, it is. This is the one where you play as Di Blackthorn. So yes, that is the one. So I'm going to try to bust out some of these really exciting old school solo adventures. And before we go, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. There are a couple of things that need to be shared with everyone. And some of them involve megaphones. But, oh, I should probably quit our music. I know what I'm doing here. I got us. So, here's what's what, everybody. I'm going to give you the word. So, I'm very excited about this. We're going to come back to this, and I'm going to see if I can get like I don't know. We'll make it fancy. But, generally speaking, this is what's what. Today's Friday. Sunday at 8 p.m. over at Praxagora the Smophorius channel. You can find me playing The Witcher at 8 p.m. Eastern, so you should come and see that. Next week will be the first session of a brand new campaign that I'm running over at Laugh Love Lindy's channel at 8 p.m. Eastern, and that is Good Society. It's the campaign is called Upon the Hexhamshire Moors, and it's the game Good Society. We're using an expansion I've not seen played yet on stream called Emma Forget-Me-Not, and it's for long, sweeping, moody, capital R romantic stories like Wuthering Heights, that sort of a thing. And really special, I'm very excited about this. We're actually going to do the session 0. We're going to stream the session 0 because Good Society has a whole session 0 where you make characters and make their connections and talk about your desires and your secrets and all that sort of stuff and your relationships. So we're actually going to do that in all the shows I've seen or played in or GM'd. We've always done that pre-stream, but we're going to do that on stream so that all of you who are really interested in how Good Society sets up can actually watch that happening. And actually, I find that part actually really fun as well. So this coming Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern over at Laugh Love Lindy will be the first session of Upon the Hexhamshire Moors, a Good Society game. Also, side note, you might find this really exciting. I'm really excited about it. It is also going to be a longer campaign. It's going to be between 14 and 16 sessions. So many Good Society campaigns run like one-shots or anywhere between like 2 to 6. And I've, for a really long time, wanted to run a longer campaign of Good Society so that you can use there are some extra rules that nobody ever uses in Good Society because they're only used in longer campaigns and nobody ever runs longer campaigns. The inner conflict system is a mechanism that's in Good Society that nobody ever uses. So like your characters in Good Society have relationships and desires, but you can also have internal conflict. And so we're all going to have internal conflicts now, which I'm very excited for. We're going to be able to use some rules that are not normally used. Plus, Emma Forget-Me-Not has some extra rules. All the expansions have extra rules, and they've got some very cool extra rules about changing your fortune and long-term changes. And so that's really exciting. And that's going to start on Wednesday at 8 p.m. over at Laugh Love Lindy's. So for RPGs that I'm currently in, it'll be starting now Wednesdays over at Laugh Love Lindy's for Good Society, Upon the Hexhamshire Moors. I'll tell you one other thing about this in a second. And then Sundays at 8 p.m. for Witcher Roads Home. And then currently we still have 2 more sessions on the Fridays at 8 p.m. of City of Light and Shadow. But and City of Light and Shadow will come back in August after Gen Con. But for June, July, and August, there will be RPGs happening on Friday nights. Some of which I cannot announce yet, but I can announce that we're going to actually finish our fighter Brigitte Jones The Red's solo adventure the Friday after we finish City of Light and Shadow, which I'm excited about. And I'm going to pull up a couple other ones, but I do have some other things I want to run. And 2 things I wanted to say before we go. One, the Good Society campaign is being set in a small town called Barden Mill, which has about 400 people now. And Barden Mill is just like a couple of kilometers from Hadrian's Wall. Like you can see Hadrian's Wall, like you can see it, it's right there. So Barden Mill is super ancient. Hadrian's Wall is right there. There are some estates that like people who were related to the Queen Mother lived in. So some like super rich people live there, but also that whole area has quarries and coal mines. So you've got like super poor people, super rich people. We're like right on the edge of the Industrial Revolution. So I'm really excited for the location. And because this campaign is going to span at least a decade, most likely, we'll be able to see some really cool changes. So I'm very excited about that. So that's exciting. That's the one thing I wanted to say about that. The other thing I wanted to say was probably about RPGs, right? Yeah, there are a bunch of things I want to do over the summer because I really want to make use of my summer while I have it. And that is going to be, there's some things I probably want to do on a Sunday afternoon, but I'm not going to tell you about them yet. We will see, but you all will need to know. You will need to know. I am facilitating the Good Society game. My clothes are in the dry cleaners. I will pick them up on Tuesday. Oh, Krellin, yes. I will be doing another GURPS Arena. I have been wanting to do a GURPS Arena, but because of the move and all of that stuff, it's been just too busy. But I will be doing a GURPS Arena this summer. Absolutely. And that is going to be happening on a Sunday in the afternoon so that people who are in other time zones have a better chance of being able to participate. So yes, there's going to be a GURPS Arena and one of these Sundays. I'm hoping to get some Spy Team 67 on some of the Sundays. This is what I wanted to tell you. So I've been thinking a lot about, one of the things I really want to do is run games from different decades and games that are like historically important or really interesting. And I have struggled a long time with a torn feeling, and that has to do with D&D from back in the day. I really, really love the stronghold rules in basic D&D, that you build your own stronghold, you get followers, you become landed gentry in your own way. Love it. And I don't see people like that's an element of D&D that people don't do very much anymore, and I love that element, and I would love to run a campaign where we can get there. But on the other hand, OSR folks are all up in the business of BMCI. Like, they're just BECMI. Like, they're all into it. And like, people rarely do AD&D first edition. And so I'm like torn between AD&D first edition and all of that business and basic. Anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but I'm thinking about it. And just note that, and I still want to do my important games from different countries. So I know that the summer is probably one of my best chances to sort of basically run 2 games or run different stuff. So I'm hoping to do a bunch of that, and all that stuff is going to be happening. You'll find out about it. I'll tell you all about it, and also I'll announce those things in the Discord, also on Patreon. I'm going to be having the interviews for the players for Kolos. They'll be coming out in basically through the break period. I still have to pin down my players to get them to interview, but I'll release them basically I'm hoping to read some once a month over the break, so you still get your Kolos fix, and other things will be happening. So all of that said, I want to thank you all for being here for this experiment in D&D. Expect us to come back to this character Brigitte in 3 weeks, so we can find that out. So, oh man, I want to see a first edition bard so everyone can see why the Harpers were a thing, right? See, this is the thing. I'm really interested perhaps a bit more in first edition AD&D because I feel like basic is really done. So we will see. But that said, I want to say thank you to those folks who during this stream, and by the way, thank you for the for being understanding that we came and started late. We sort of had to because I had to sort of put together a whole thing at the last minute, but I did it, and we're set up for next time. So we have some gift subs from Will and TW, who's amazing, and we had a wonderful raid from Table Story. Thank you. And we had some bits. Now, you may not know this, but this is what happens, because I know that there's some new folks here. But when we have bits, we sing a song, and we have raids, we sing songs, and when we have follows, we sing songs, and when we have subs, we sing songs. We sing songs here quite a lot, and I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to sing a bunch of songs. So I would like to sing first off for that raid. Table Story, thank you for that raid. By the way, I want you all to give a quick look to see who's streaming, because I'd like to do a raid. Since it's not too late, we can do a raid. So while I'm singing, somebody looking to see who's running around so we can do a good raid. But first, for that raid, come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you candy. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you everything. Thank you for that, Ray. By the way, also, I want to do Tunnels and Trolls solo again. We did Tunnels and Trolls solo back when. I want to do it again, because that's another one of those 70s games. So I want to do some 70s. This might be the summer of the 70s, 80s, right? So I'm thinking some Tunnels and Trolls. We're doing some D&D. We'll do that. Maybe we'll do some. I've got some thoughts. I've got some 70s thoughts. That said, we had some follows. I would be interested in rating Cheryl's little brother. I would love to. Vasco the Gamer, absolutely. Thank you, Krellin. Thank you. I would like to thank Vanya and Nikoma and Popcorn Girl for those follows. Your songs are I always feel like somebody's watching me, and I have no privacy. Whoa, I always feel like somebody's watching me. Tell me, is it just a dream? Ba-da-ba-pow. That's our follows for our follows. Thank you, followers. We also have from Brutal Dan and also Rissa bits. I want to thank you for those bits. And for our bit song, we sing We're in the Money from the film Gold Diggers of 1933 as sung by Ginger Rogers, which means we sing it in Pig Latin. And so Pig Latin. Earway and hey, the anime. Earway and hey, the anime. Eve at gale at way at wakes to tit gale young way. Earway and hey, the anime. The ice skates are on, he say. Old man did the ocean pray. We are a ooger, you are still no young ray. Ewe ebony eat red leons lay, every at Brian's lay, day. And we see the end, Lord, will look like the eye around the eye. We're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. I love that. Look, I love an excuse to sing in Pig Latin. But we also have wait! Why was Rissa. No. Okay, and we have some subs. And for our subs, we sing the name game. And I want to give some sub love, right? We've got, thank you, Willem, for those gift subs. So I'm going to be singing the name game for all of our new, lovely subbed folks. And that will be the name game. Come on, everybody. I say, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name. I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F. Or an M will appear. And then I say bo at a B. Then I say the name. Then banana, fanner, and foe. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain. Then a fee, fi, and a mo. Then I say the name again with an M this time. And there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. But if the first two letters are ever the same, I drop them both and say the name. I like Bob. Bob drop the B's, Bo, Ob, or Fred. Fred drop the F's, fo, red, or Mary. Mary drop the M's, mo, airy. That's the only rule that is contrary. Crit twitch, bo, bit twitch, banana, fanna, fo, fit twitch, B5, mo, mit twitch. Crit twitch. Lysander salamander, bo, bisander salamander, banana, fanna, fo, fisander salamander, V5, mo, mysander salamander. Lysander salamander, Schmelzer, bo, belzer, banana, fanna, fo, felzer, V5, mo, melzer. Schmelzer. Pause on the schmelzer. I'm going to come back to it. See spider mix, bo, B, spider mix, banana, fanna, fo, fee, spider mix, fee, fi, mo, me, spider mix. See spider mix. TC Mexman. Woo. TC Mexman, bo, BC Mexman, banana, fanna, fo, fee, C Mexman, fee, fi, mo, me, C Mexman. TC Mexman. The name game. Yay! Oh, Schmelzer, you speak German. I want to do an experiment right now. I'm just going to see if I can do it. I probably can't. Here we go. Das Namenspiel. Hey, jeder. Sag mal, spiel mal ein Spiel. Ich wette, ich kann ein, oh, wie sagt man Rhyme? Wahrscheinlich ist auch Rhyme, gell? wahrscheinlich Rhyme. Rhyme ist wahrscheinlich Rhyme. Rhyme ist Rhyme, oder? Nicht? Yes? Reimen. Sure? It's das Spiel. I'm pretty sure it's das Spiel. Let me see. I feel like rhyme is also rhyme in German, because that is how German works. Every time I'm like, what is that word in German? And it's like always, yeah, it's rhyme. Of course it is. Of course it is. Hey, Raven. Right now I'm singing the name game. Welcome in, Raiders. Come on in my house, come on. Come on in my house, come on. Come on in my house, I'm gonna give you candy. Come on in my house, I'm gonna give you everything. Welcome in, Raiders. I'm singing the name game in German, but I'm just trying to translate on the fly, because that's my life at the moment. Valtiel says, I had a dream the other night with the Namenspiel in it, except I don't know any German words, so it must have been gibberish. Yeah, so let me see. Das Spiel, right? Das Spiel. I feel like Spiel is neuter. Right? Right. Yes? Das Spiel. Ja oder nein? Das Spiel. It is Das Spiel. I was right. Okay. Das Namenspiel. Hey, now jeder. Lass uns, spielen mal uns ein Spiel. Ich wette, ich kann einen Reim machen von jeder Mensches Namen. Der erste Buchstabe der Name. Ich lasse es weg sein. Und dann ein B oder ein F. Oder ein M wird da sein. Und dann ich sage Bo und dann ein B und dann sage der Name und Banana, Fahne und Fo. Und ich sage das Name mit ein F ganz einfach. Und dann ein Phi, Phi und ein Mo. Und ich sage den Namen nochmal mit ein M dieses Mal und es gibt keinen Namen, das ich nicht reimen kannst. Schmelzer, 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 Bobelzer, Banana, Fano, Fofelzer, Phi, Momelzer. Schmelzer. Das Namenspiel. So it could be better. Could be better. You're working on it, right? Just working on it. Type of Gift says, I once wrote for a German lesson, I was not born under a rhyming star, in which I hoped was German, and it was wrote with a clutch of question marks from my poor German teacher. That's good. Schmelzer. So I just try to do it in the German for you. Look, so I'm going to go and stream tomorrow, noon. That's where you can find me next for the Outer Worlds. And sometimes I play the banjo before at the beginning of the stream. And I've not been able to practice because it's been all madness, but maybe I can. It's unclear if I'm going to sing with the banjo tomorrow, but I might. And if I do, I'm going to sing in German. That's what I'm going to say to you. I don't know if I'm not going to say that I will, but if I do, it will be in German. So maybe banjo tomorrow in German. But hey, everybody, you can find me on Twitter at Academic Foxhole. You can find me on Patreon at Academic Foxhole, and that Patreon goes to pay for the casts and art and all that stuff, and for RPGs so that the cast can get paid. You can find me at troopersjp on YouTube, and we have a Discord where you can join and hang out with us, and that is really great. So, my friends, we're going to do a raid. Hey, who are we raiding? Krellin, give me the name so that I can do that. So I can send that raid over. Also, Raven and I played a really great game, Secret of Cats, and it was very, very good, and I had a lot of fun. Or the cat, I don't think it was a Secret of Cats. I think it was Cats. It was a magic cat game, and I really had such a good time. Raven, she's so great. That's what I want to tell you. So Vasco da Gamer. We're gonna raid Vasco da Gamer, and I don't want you to forget our raid command. If you want to know it. So thank you all for being here. You've been wonderful. Thank you for exploring this this wonderful sort of throwback and think about how D&D has changed. And I'm really excited for the next session in 2 weeks when we do it again and learn more about, meditate more about how it has changed. And hopefully our character does not die. So everybody, thank you very much. And I will catch you on the flip side, and let's go do a raid.